Before we get started, please like and subscribe. Let me know where you're watching from, and you can support the channel by clicking thanks or joining. The first time the door opened, Mark almost missed it. It was 3 in the morning in the crumbling apartment building on Willow Street, the kind of place where the wallpaper peeled like old bandages and the radiators hissed like they were alive. Mark sat alone at his small kitchen table, lit only by the cold blue glare of his laptop screen. Empty coffee mugs and takeout boxes formed a sad little city around him. He was on his 3rd night of overtime, editing insurance claim reports for a company that barely remembered he existed. The hallway outside his apartment was usually dead silent at that hour. That night, something changed. He heard a click, a soft, careful sound, like a lock turning from inside a throat. Mark paused, fingers hovering above the keyboard. Another click followed, a dull metallic clunk that echoed faintly through the thin walls. Then a slow, dragging creak slipped into the air. It was the sound of a door opening, but not any door he recognized. His own door was closed. The deadbolt turned. The neighbors were either out, asleep, or long gone. Yet he heard it again, a hinge that had not moved in years, bending, complaining, stretching awake. Mark stood, the cheap chair scraping against the linoleum. For a moment, he told himself it was the building settling, an old pipe, the elevator, anything but what it sounded like. He muted his laptop, and the sudden quiet made his pulse hammer in his ears. The creak ended in a small shuddering stop, like something tall and heavy had opened fully and then stilled. He crossed his living room and stopped at his door, pressing his ear against the wood. The hallway on the other side was supposed to be empty. No steps, no voices, but he heard breathing, not deep, human breathing. It was too slow, too measured, like someone trying very hard to imitate the way lungs move, but not quite getting the timing right. Mark swallowed. "Hello." His voice sounded thin in the apartment, and he hated how it trembled. The breathing stopped. He waited, every muscle in his body tense. Seconds stretched into what felt like minutes. He almost laughed at himself. Maybe it was the radiator after all. Maybe he was so tired, his brain was turning sounds into monsters. He raised his hand to the deadbolt, hesitated, then turned it anyway. The metal was cold under his fingers. He opened his door a crack and peered out. The hallway was empty. It was a long, narrow corridor with yellowed walls and a stained carpet that once might have been green. The flickering light near the far stairwell buzzed weakly, throwing shadows that jerked and shook with each surge of electricity. Doors lined both sides, all shut. No one was there. No one was moving. But something was different. The hallway felt stretched, like someone had grabbed both ends and pulled. The shadows looked longer than they should be, reaching toward him, trying to slip across the threshold into his unit. A pressure pushed against his ears, like being deep underwater. Mark shivered and stepped fully into the hall. That was when he saw the door at the end. He was sure it had never been there before. He had lived in apartment 3B for almost 2 years. At the far end of the 3rd floor corridor, there used to be a bare wall with a fire extinguisher mounted to it, and a small evacuation map under cracked plastic. Now, at that exact spot was a door. It was narrow and tall, just a little too tall, as if meant for someone who liked to stoop. The wood looked old, much older than the building, faded to a strange ashy gray with veins of darker grain twisting through it like dead vines. There was no number on it, no peephole, no mail slot, just a tarnished brass knob and a keyhole that seemed too deep, swallowing the shadows around it. Mark stared, his mouth dry. He looked back over his shoulder toward his apartment, half expecting to see his familiar hallway again with the blank wall at the end, to catch the illusion in the act of fading away. But when he turned back, the door was still there, waiting. "That is not right," he whispered under his breath. His brain scrambled for explanations. Maybe the landlord had finally renovated. Maybe there had always been a maintenance closet there and he simply never noticed. Maybe he was sleep-deprived enough to imagine a whole door into existence. Yet none of those explanations sat comfortably. He knew this hallway. He knew its stains, its smells, the exact number of steps from his apartment to the stairwell. The door did not belong. He checked the time on his phone. The screen glared back, 300 a.m. The second he saw the numbers, a chill slid from the base of his neck down his spine. 3 in the morning. He had heard people joke about the witching hour, the devil's hour, the time when the veil is thin, stuff he used to laugh off in college, when his friends would pull all-nighters and watch paranormal videos. Now he stood barefoot in a stale hallway, staring at a door that had no business being there. And suddenly all those jokes felt fragile and stupid. Something moved on the other side. It was not a clear sound, more like a suggestion of movement, a whisper of fabric shifting, a weight settling into place. The knob trembled just once, like someone had touched it from the inside and then thought better of it. Mark's chest tightened. He took an involuntary step back. "Do not," he told himself. "Do not go closer. Do not touch it." But curiosity has teeth, and it dug into him hard. He took a step forward, then another. The carpet felt soft and damp, as if something had soaked into it long ago and never fully dried. The buzzing light behind him flickered again, and for a heartbeat, the entire hallway plunged into darkness. In that envelope of black, Mark could swear he heard a whisper slip out from the new door. Syllables scraped raw, almost words, but not quite. Light came back. He was only a few feet away now. Up close, the door looked worse. The wood was etched with tiny lines, like scratches from fingers that had dragged across it for years. Some were shallow, others deep enough to have splintered and been worn smooth again. There were places where the grain looked almost like faces pressed against the inside, screaming without mouths. Mark forced himself to breathe. He reached out and touched the brass knob with one finger. A sharp jolt of cold shot through his hand, climbing up his arm and into his chest. He gasped and jerked back, staring at his own shaking fingers. "This is insane," he muttered. "I am not doing this." He turned, ready to bolt back to his apartment, lock the door, and pretend none of this existed. His heart slammed against his ribs. From behind him, he heard the unmistakable sound of a lock turning. Click! The noise was right against his ear. Though he was several steps away, it felt like the sound had moved through the air and pinned itself to him. Mark froze. Click! It came again, deeper this time. Final, slowly, very slowly, he turned back. The knob was twisting on its own, the brass screeching softly as it moved. The door shuddered, then began to swing inward, opening into a darkness that was not like a lack of light, but like the presence of something that swallowed light whole. No hallway, no room, no maintenance closet was visible beyond it, just a black so dense it seemed to lean forward. A draft rolled out, washing over Mark, smelling of damp stone and something older than the building, older than the street, older than the city itself. In that cold wind, he thought he heard distant footsteps on some unseen floor, growing closer in a rhythm that did not match any human stride. Mark's voice came out as a hoarse whisper. "Hello, is someone there?" From the darkness beyond the threshold, something answered. It was not in a language he understood, but the tone curled around his name like it had known him for a very long time. The hallway lights flickered again. For a fraction of a second, in the stuttering glow, Mark saw a shape standing just inside the doorway. Tall, thin, head tilted as if the neck were too long and too loose to hold it straight. Its outline blurred at the edges, like it was still deciding what shape to wear. Then the light steadied and the shape was gone. The door hung half open, breathing cold into the building. Mark realized his feet were no longer where he thought they were. Somehow, without noticing, he had taken another step forward. The strange darkness on the other side of the door seemed to tug at him, a gentle pull, like an unseen hand had hooked into his ribs and was reeling him in. Behind him, far away, his apartment door stood open, warm light from his laptop spilling into the hallway. His normal life, his small job, his tired routines were all back there, waiting. In front of him was a doorway that did not belong, yawning at 3 a.m., whispering his name in a voice that did not come from a human throat. Mark stood between both, heart pounding, and understood something simple and terrible. If he stepped through, there would be no guarantee he would ever find the way back. Mark did not sleep for the rest of the night. After the door closed on its own with a slow, heavy thud, the hallway returned to its usual sickly yellow glow, as if nothing strange had happened at all. He backed away from it, step by trembling step, until he reached the safety of his apartment. The moment he crossed the threshold, he slammed his own door shut and turned both locks, pressing his forehead against the wooden surface, while his breath shook in and out of him in short, shallow bursts. He stayed that way for a long time, as if waiting for the impossible door to open again and swallow him whole. When the sun finally rose, its weak orange light reached through the blinds and washed over the living room. Mark collapsed onto the couch, unsure if he had slept at all or simply drifted somewhere between waking and delirium. His phone alarm jolted him upright. It was time for work. He stared at the notification glowing on the screen, unable to understand how the world outside kept moving normally when everything inside him felt ruptured. He showered, dressed, and forced himself into the routine he knew, but each movement felt hollow, heavy, and slow. When he opened his apartment door to leave, he hesitated. The hallway looked completely ordinary. Beige walls, flickering light, stains that had been there for years, and yet his eyes kept drifting to the far end of the corridor. The door was gone. The blank wall was back. He hurried down the stairs like someone being chased. At the office, he sat at his cubicle with a stack of claim files waiting for him, but he could not focus. He kept replaying last night in his head. The creaking hinge, the lock turning by itself, the shape that stood in the doorway, tall and malformed, the cold air that smelled like something ancient had been buried too long. By lunch, he had convinced himself that he needed proof that the door had existed, something real and solid he could point to, maybe a photograph, maybe a witness, something to confirm that he had not lost his mind. That evening, he arrived home early, the winter sun already gone. The hallway lights buzzed as he walked up the stairs. His heartbeat quickened. He looked down the corridor. The wall remained solid and blank. No strange door, no wrong shadows, no cold wind. He approached slowly and touched the wall. The plaster felt normal, warm from the building's old heating system. Night came, midnight passed. Mark sat in the living room with all the lights on and every noise amplified in his imagination. He checked the time repeatedly. The numbers crept toward 3. His stomach tightened with each minute. He hated that he was waiting for it, but he could not help it. He needed to know if it would return. At exactly 2:59, the apartment grew colder. The lamps flickered. Mark stood quickly, his breath ghosting in front of his face. He stepped toward his door, listening. The hallway was still eerily quiet. At 3 o'clock sharp, a deep metallic click echoed through his apartment. Not from his door, from the hallway beyond it. He opened his door slowly. The cold washed over him instantly. The hallway stretched before him like a long, narrow throat, darker than it should have been. At the far end, the door had returned. Tall, wrong, waiting. This time it was already partially open. A thin line of blackness leaked through the crack, like ink bleeding out onto the world. Mark felt his skin crawl. He approached cautiously, each step sounding too loud on the carpet. His breath shook as he drew near the impossible door again. The darkness beyond it pulsed, drawing his eyes deeper and deeper until all other details seemed to vanish. He whispered hello, even though he was not sure he wanted an answer. Something shifted just past the crack, a soft scrape, like bone dragging across stone. The door creaked open another inch. A cold draft curled around Mark's ankles. His pulse hammered in his skull. He took one step back, then another. The darkness beyond the door moved, not forward, not sideways. It moved like smoke with intention, shaping itself into the outline of something tall and too thin to be human. The edges shimmered like heat haze. Its head tilted again, that same impossible angle he had seen the night before. Mark stumbled backward, unable to look away. The silhouette stretched, its form flickering as though choosing from a catalogue of shapes, something like a hand extended from its side, long and narrow, bending in a way joints were never meant to bend. It reached toward the threshold but stopped before crossing it, as if touching the hallway required permission. A voice rose out of the darkness, not a whisper this time, a sound that resonated in Mark's bones, vibrating through him. It spoke his name, dragging each syllable like it was tasting them. Mark ran. He sprinted back to his apartment, slammed his door, locked every lock, and pressed his weight against it. The hallway behind the door remained silent, but silence felt worse. Silence meant the thing was listening. He collapsed onto the floor, shaking uncontrollably. Hours passed before the cold faded and his apartment returned to normal temperature. He did not sleep. He stared at the ceiling until dawn, listening for any sound that did not belong. By morning, he had made a decision. He could not survive another night like that. He needed to understand what the door wanted from him, why it appeared only at 3 in the morning, why it called his name in a voice that seemed older than anything he had ever known. He grabbed his laptop and began searching for anything that might explain a door that appeared where no door should be. Urban legends, haunted architecture, dimensional theories, ghost accounts, forums filled with strange late-night confessions from people who heard things in their walls or saw figures in their mirrors. One post caught his eye. A user had written about a door that appeared in his basement when he was a child. It opened only at 3 in the morning and led to a staircase that should not have existed. The user claimed that something had waited at the bottom of the stairs every night, calling his name. He moved across the country at 18 and never saw the door again. Mark felt a chill heavy in his chest. He spent hours reading through every comment, every thread the user had written before disappearing from the forum entirely 10 years ago. No one had believed him, but Mark knew the story was real, or at least possible. As the sun set again and shadows lengthened across the apartment, Mark realized he had a choice. Run, move, leave everything behind, or confront the door and whatever waited behind it. Fear twisted in his stomach, but so did a strange certainty. The door had not chosen him at random. It had opened for him, called him, followed him across time, across generations maybe. If he tried to run, he doubted it would matter. The door would open again, and this time, he would not run. He glanced at the clock, 2:30 in the morning. He stood, heart pounding, and waited for the hour when the world bent itself around a doorway that should not exist. The door would return, and did. He would be ready to face whatever waited beyond it. Mark spent the entire day fighting the weight that clung to his mind like wet fabric. Every sound in the apartment made him flinch. Every shadow felt like it lingered too long, stretching behind him. Even when he stood still, he kept the blinds open for as long as the daylight lasted, desperate for any sign that the world was still real and not collapsing into the darkness that waited behind the door. By dusk, he had checked the clock so often that the numbers seemed burned into his vision. As the sky outside turned from orange to deep blue, Mark forced himself to prepare. He moved slowly through the apartment, checking every light bulb, every lock, every inch of the hallway outside his door. He tried to convince himself he was doing research, gathering details a rational mind could use to understand the impossible. But deep down, he knew the truth. He was preparing for a confrontation he did not understand with something that already knew his name. Around 10, he sat on the couch, laptop open, scrolling through every strange online story he could find. Each tale title seemed to echo a truth he did not want to accept. People wrote of structures appearing where none should be, doors that shifted when no one watched, voices that called to them at hours when the world thinned. Some claimed they escaped by forgetting, others vanished, their accounts ending abruptly. No one offered answers, no one offered hope. Midnight approached. Mark forced himself to eat a few bites of cold leftovers, but his stomach churned. At 1:20, his hands began to tremble. He gripped the edge of the table and breathed in slow, steady counts. He had decided he would not run, but that did not mean he felt brave. Fear crawled across his skin with every passing minute. At 2:45, the temperature in the room dropped sharply. His breath fogged in the air. The lamps dimmed, one by one, until the apartment was lit only by the faint bluish glow of the laptop screen. The hum of the refrigerator stuttered, then died completely. The stillness was suffocating. 2:59. Mark stood. He walked to his apartment door, each step heavy, as though the air itself was resisting him. He gripped the doorknob, cold as metal left in winter frost. He waited. 3 o'clock arrived. The hallway groaned. The sound was deep, ancient, like the bones of the building were shifting. A long, dragging creak followed, unmistakable. The door was opening again. He pulled his own door open and stepped into the hallway. It was colder here. The overhead light flickered violently, casting the corridor in sharp pulses of brightness and shadow. At the far end, where the blank wall had stood mere hours ago, the impossible door was fully formed once again. But unlike the night before, tonight it was wide open. The blackness beyond it rolled outward like a tide, thick and heavy, barely contained by the frame. Mark's skin tightened as the cold seeped into him. He took a single step forward, compelled by a pull he could not resist. From within the darkness, something moved, not a shape, a suggestion of a shape, a ripple like the void itself inhaling. His heart pounded so fiercely he could barely breathe. "What do you want?" he forced out, though the words shook. A voice answered. It was not a scream, not a whisper. It came from everywhere at once, as though the walls, the floor, and the very air had spoken. This time, it did not say his name. This time, it spoke a sentence. "You left the door open." Mark staggered backward. "What does that mean?" "I didn't." The darkness surged forward an inch, pressing against the threshold. The cold deepened. The flickering light above him buzzed until it screamed. He stared into the black, and then he saw something he had not seen before. Stairs. They wound downward into the void, carved from stone slick with moisture, disappearing into depths no light touched. The staircase twisted in a way impossible for any geometry he knew, bending as though the world beyond the door followed its own rules. A figure stood on the third step. Tall, wrong, its limbs too long, its posture twisted, its face unreadable, shifting between expressions as though reality could not decide what it looked like. When it moved, it did not walk. It glided, shoulders bending and unbending with unnatural rhythm. "Why me?" Mark whispered. The figure tilted its head, that same awful angle. The shadows around it thickened. You opened the door once, the voice said, so you must open it again. Mark shook his head. I didn't open it. It appeared. The figure took another step up, nearing the threshold. The light dimmed further. The cold was paralyzing. You heard it, the voice replied. You listened. That is how doors open. Mark stumbled backward. His breath came sharp, fast, ragged. The darkness pressed against the hallway now, curling across the carpet like living ink. He turned and ran. His feet pounded against the floor as he sprinted toward his apartment. The cold followed him, a gust of wind filled with whispers he refused to understand. He slammed the door, locked it, and backed away as the walls groaned around him. The apartment lights flickered violently. The shadows stretched. Mark stared at his door, expecting it to burst open, but slowly, painfully, the whispers faded, the cold lifted, the lamps brightened one by one, until the room felt normal again. Mark collapsed to the floor, gasping, shaking. The door had spoken. The darkness had stepped forward, and the staircase had appeared, waiting for him. He understood then that running was no longer an option. The door did not just appear, it followed, and it would continue to open until he stepped through it. Mark awoke to the sound of his own breath, sharp and ragged, as though his lungs had forgotten how to work. He did not remember falling asleep. He did not remember lying down, but he found himself on the couch, the room dim with the weak morning light pushing through the blinds like hesitant fingers. His entire body ached from the tension of the night before. Every muscle felt stretched, every thought brittle. The memory of the open door, the twisting staircase, and the voice that spoke in tones older than language lingered in his skull like a bruise. He sat upright slowly, wincing. His heart thudded with a warning he could not ignore. He glanced toward his apartment door, half expecting to see the impossible door fused to its surface, waiting for him. Instead, everything looked normal. Quiet, safe, but he knew better now. Safety was an illusion that dissolved at 3 in the morning. For the rest of the day, Mark tried to hold on to the shape of reality. He went outside briefly, walking through the cold streets of the city, trying to ground himself in simple sights. A woman walking her dog, cars passing, the distant sound of sirens, life moving forward. But it all felt thin, fragile, stretched like the hallway had been. He felt watched, even in daylight. A presence pressed against the back of his mind, silent but attentive, like a shadow waiting for its cue. By early afternoon, he returned home. He checked his locks again, checked the hallway, checked the blank wall at the far end. There was no door, yet the echo of its cold voice clung to him. You left the door open. He spent hours trying to understand what the phrase meant. He had never opened that impossible door. He had only looked at it. He had only listened, but the voice spoke as though he had invited something through, something that had been waiting for that invitation for a very long time. He scoured every forum, every obscure website, every horror archive. He looked for patterns, for rules, for rituals. Some accounts described doors that opened only when acknowledged. Others spoke of thresholds that fed on attention, on fear, on the act of listening itself. One thread mentioned a theory that resonated too deeply. The moment you recognize the impossible, You give it permission to exist, and once it exists, it does not simply vanish. It follows. As twilight spread across the sky, Mark brewed coffee just to keep his hands busy. The rich scent filled the apartment, but it did little to soothe him. His mind raced, replaying every moment from the last 2 nights. The silhouette on the stairs, the shifting shapes, the liquid darkness, the cold that seeped into his bones. He knew tonight would be worse. The door's pattern was changing each night. It opened wider, revealed more, stepped closer. At 7, he turned on every light. At 9, he checked the hallway again. Still empty, still normal. At 11, something inside him twisted a sense, an intuition, a certainty. The door was coming, whether he opened his own door or not. At 2:30, the apartment began to change. The temperature dropped violently, even faster than the nights before. Frost crawled along the edges of the windows, thin and delicate like veins spreading across glass. The lamps buzzed and dimmed. The refrigerator groaned to a stop. The air thickened, heavy with a presence he could not name. 2:55. Mark stood. His body moved before he told it to. His feet carried him toward the apartment door. His hand hovered above the knob, trembling. The cold leaked through the cracks like a breath from another world. 2:59. Silence fell so completely that even the sound of his heartbeat felt muted. Then came the groan, deeper this time, older, as though something massive had shifted into place. A slow, dragging creak followed. The hallway was opening again. 3 o'clock. Mark opened his own door. The hallway was gone. In its place stretched a corridor of stone, slick with moisture, veins of glowing pale light pulsing through the walls, as though the structure itself was alive. The ceiling arched impossibly high, disappearing into shadow. The cold hit him like a physical blow. The air smelled of earth long buried and water untouched by sunlight. The impossible door was nowhere in sight. It had been replaced. The stone corridor extended endlessly, lit faintly by the sickly veins of light that pulsed slow as a heartbeat. From far ahead, he heard the echo of movement, soft, slow, deliberate. Mark stepped forward without meaning to. His bare feet touched cold stone. A shiver shot up his legs. Behind him, his apartment door slammed shut with a force that rattled his bones. He spun around, grabbing the handle. There was no handle. His apartment door was gone. Only smooth stone remained. He was inside. His breath came fast, clouding the cold air. Panic clawed at him. He pressed his palms against the stone where his door had been, pounding it. Let me out, let me out. The stone swallowed every sound. Corridor answered with a whisper. It slithered along the walls, soft and low, like a voice learning how to speak. Mark backed away slowly, watching the dark ahead of him pulse with movement. He could not go back. There was no back. The only direction left was forward. He swallowed hard and walked. The corridor twisted as he moved, bending subtly, unnaturally, as if adjusting to his steps. His senses warped. Distance felt inconsistent. Shadows moved, even when the faint glowing veins were still. The cold seeped deeper into him, numbing his thoughts. After what felt like an hour, he reached a chamber. It opened wide, circular, with walls rising so high they vanished into darkness. In the center stood the staircase. the same one he had seen through the open door, descending into a void thick with swirling black mist, and at the top of the staircase stood the figure, closer now, clearer, its limbs impossibly long, its posture a grotesque mockery of human form. Its face was shifting, melting between expressions, anger, joy, hunger, sorrow, none of them fully settling. It tilted its head slowly, that same awful angle. You should not have left it open, the voice said again. But now it came from the figure itself, vibrating the air. Mark shook. I didn't open anything. The figure stepped forward, gliding rather than walking. You listened, it said, and doors listened too. Mark backed away, but his feet slipped on the slick stone. He fell hard, the cold biting through his clothes. The black mist rose from the staircase, swirling around the figure like obedient smoke. You came, the voice said, almost pleased. So now you may see. See what? Mark whispered. The figure extended a hand, long, thin, wrong, and pointed downward. The staircase pulsed. The mist parted. And far, far below, Mark saw shapes moving. Dozens, hundreds, all shifting in the darkness like a sea of shadows. Some tall, some twisted, some crawling along the stone steps as though climbing toward him. Whispering, calling, waiting. This is where the open doors lead, the figure said. And you left yours open long ago. Mark scrambled backward, terror flooding him, but the corridor behind him began to close, curling inward like a throat swallowing. He was trapped. The figure took another step toward him, and the chamber trembled, as though something enormous below had begun to climb. Mark could not breathe. The chamber shook again, dust falling like gray snow from the unseen heights above. The staircase leading downward convulsed with movement, as if something vast and restless shifted beneath its layers of mist. The figure at the top of the stairs tilted its head farther, the motion a slow, deliberate bend that made Mark's stomach twist. The air trembled with a low vibration, a hum that scraped the edges of hearing. He scrambled backward until his hands hit the cold stone wall. The corridor behind him, once twisting and open, now contracted like living muscle. The walls pressed in, curling toward one another as if sealing him inside a closing throat. The sickly veins of pale light pulsed rapidly, their glow flickering like a heartbeat that was speeding up. He felt the air thinning, the cold deepening. You should not have left it open, the figure repeated, its voice layered, echoing as though spoken by more than one mouth. Now the path is awake. What path? Mark strained to speak through his fear. Why me? What do you want from me? The figure stepped closer. Its legs did not bend. Its arms unraveled slightly, stretching in ways that made Mark's skin crawl. The shifting expressions on its face slowed, as though settling on something resembling interest or hunger. You listened, it said. You let the threshold hear you. Now you must follow it to the end. Mark shook his head violently. No, I didn't choose any of this. The chamber groaned. Somewhere far below, something heavy struck stone. The mist surged, coiling upward like smoke pulled by a rising flame. The cold clawed at Mark's lungs until each breath felt jagged. He pressed harder against the stone behind him, wishing he could sink through it. escape into anything that wasn't this impossible place. "Please," he whispered, "just let me go home." The figure paused. Its head drifted from side to side, as though considering. Its long fingers curled inward, knuckles bending at unnatural angles. "There is no home once the door follows you," it said quietly. "There is only what waits beyond." Mark's eyes darted to the staircase. Shapes swirled below, faint outlines of bodies that twisted through the mist. Some crawled, some drifted, some towered with impossible height. Their whispers rose in a discordant chorus, a sound like wind forced through broken instruments. He felt their attention shift toward him, felt their hunger. He could not stay here. He had to run. Without thinking, Mark bolted toward the right side of the chamber. He didn't know if another exit existed, but the instinct to move overpowered everything. His feet slapped against the slick stone floor, slipping as he pushed himself away from the figure. The mist surged violently, but he stayed ahead of it by seconds. The corridor that had closed behind him earlier suddenly peeled open again, just enough for a human body to squeeze through. It was as if the structure itself had sensed his need to flee, or worse, it wanted him to run. Mark didn't care. He plunged through the narrow gap just as the chamber shook again. The corridor sealed behind him with a wet, grinding sound. Darkness swallowed the space ahead. He ran blindly. The corridor twisted, shifting under his feet like something alive. The glowing veins pulsed erratically, casting strobes of sickly light that disoriented him. At times, the walls bowed inward. At other moments, they stretched wide, opening into impossible distances. He no longer trusted what he saw. He only followed motion. Momentum, desperation. The whispers followed him. They slithered around corners, echoing along the stone. Some sounded like words, others like breaths brushing the back of his neck. More than once, he felt something graze his shoulder, a brush of cold, a hint of fingers, but when he turned, nothing was there. He didn't know how long he ran. Minutes, hours. Time felt twisted in this place. Eventually, the corridor split ahead of him. Two paths. The left path glowed faintly with pale blue veins, pulsing softly like a weak heartbeat. The right path flickered with red cracks running deep into the stone, throbbing with a rhythm that felt aggressive, hungry. He hesitated only a second. He turned left. He sprinted down the glowing path, lungs burning. The stone beneath his feet hummed, vibrating more violently the farther he went. The walls tightened around him, sometimes squeezing so close he had to turn sideways to keep moving. Other times they expanded abruptly, revealing open voids that stretched into infinity before collapsing inward again. Where does this lead? He gasped to himself. The corridor answered with another pulse of light. He reached a dead end. A wall of stone, smooth and cold, rose before him. No door, no opening, no crack. No. He slammed both hands against the stone. It did not move. The whispers behind him grew louder, closer. The cold deepened until his breath came out as thick white fog. He pounded the wall again. "Please open." A crack formed, Right beneath his palm, the stone split slowly, widening, glowing from within with pale blue light. Mark stumbled back as the crack expanded into a vertical seam. Then the seam widened further until he saw it clearly. A door, a new door, tall, narrow, formed entirely from glowing stone veined with pulsing light. The outline trembled as though alive. He didn't want to touch it. He didn't want to see what was behind it. But the whispers were approaching. He pressed his shaking fingers to the stone door. It opened. A rush of warm air washed over him, a sharp contrast to the freezing corridor behind. He stepped through instinctively, desperate for escape. The door closed behind him with a heavy, final thud. He was in another chamber, but not like the first. This chamber was shaped like a dome, its ceiling covered in thousands of glowing veins that intertwined like roots of some great underground tree. In the center stood a circular pool of water, so still it reflected the ceiling perfectly. The air here was warmer, gentler, almost peaceful. Mark's breathing steadied. For the first time since entering this place, he felt the cold retreat from his bones. He approached the pool cautiously. Something shifted in the reflection. He froze. His reflection stared back perfectly still, but behind it stood another shape. Taller, darker, its form rippled like smoke rising through water. He spun around. Nothing was there. But when he looked back into the pool, the reflection remained. The figure behind him leaned closer in the water's surface, distorted and wrong. Then it whispered, "You cannot run from what follows." Mark stumbled back, nearly falling into the pool. The chamber trembled softly, as if acknowledging the truth spoken by the reflection. He looked at his own face in the water. His eyes were not the same. Something watched from behind them, something waiting. He backed away slowly as the veins pulsed overhead, their glow growing brighter and brighter. The air shifted, the floor trembled, and the pool's surface broke as a hand emerged from the water, long, thin, reaching for him. Mark stumbled away from the pool as the long, thin hand rose higher, droplets falling from its skin like dark beads of oil. The air in the chamber thickened, vibrating with a low hum that made his bones ache. The veins along the ceiling brightened, pulses of pale light rippling outward like a warning or a summons. Mark did not wait to find out which. The hand crested fully above the water, followed by a second. Both were impossibly long, jointed in strange ways, the fingers tapering into delicate, sharpened ends. The surface of the pool rippled violently as something massive moved beneath. Mark's breath caught in his throat. He took another stumbling step back, heels skidding on the slick stone floor. No, stay back," he gasped. The water bulged upward as though something pressed against it from below. Then the surface broke again. A head emerged. It was not a human head, not entirely. The shape was smooth, reflective, like polished stone, sculpted into a face that never settled on one expression. Its features slid and reformed, eyes appearing, then drifting to new positions, the mouth widening, then folding inward again. It watched him even as it reshaped itself. Mark backed away, violently, shaking. The door behind him, if it could still be called a door, remained sealed. There was nowhere to run. The creature continued rising. Its torso surfaced, long and narrow, rippling with veins of blackness that moved like shadows trapped under skin. Its movements had a watery gray, as though it was made of both flesh and fluid. As it pulled itself higher, the veins on the ceiling pulsed faster, responding to its presence. Mark forced himself to breathe. "What do you want from me?" he whispered. The creature paused. Its face reshaped into something almost human, a semblance of a man Mark might have passed on the street. Only the proportions were slightly wrong, the angles too sharp. When it spoke, the mouth did not move. The voice poured into the room from everywhere and nowhere at once. "You followed the open path." The words echoed through the chamber, rippling across the pool. "I didn't want to," Mark said. "I didn't choose this." "You listened," the voice replied. "Listening is choosing." The creature's hands flexed, curling inward like hooks. Mark's heartbeat thundered in his ears. The pool's glow dimmed slightly, and ripples spread outward, carrying with them faint whispers. The shadows around the creature thickened, swirling like fog. Mark realized something horrifying. This creature was not the same as the figure at the staircase. This one was different, older, maybe deeper. Its presence felt like pressure on his skull, like too many eyes watching him at once. He forced himself to inch sideways, hoping to find some escape along the curved chamber wall. The creature tracked his movement, its head tilting in an unnervingly smooth arc. "You should not run," it said. "Running opens more doors." Mark froze. The words struck him with an electric clarity. This thing, this place did not follow physical rules. The corridors shifted, the doors appeared and vanished. Every step he took, every thought he allowed might be opening new paths, new dangers, new watchers. "Then what do you want me to do?" he whispered. The creature rose fully from the pool, standing now on legs that bent in two different directions at once. Its height was immense, easily twice his own, but its posture remained fluid, like it might collapse into water at any moment. "To understand," it said, "to see what you opened." "I didn't open anything. You opened yourself," the creature replied. "And the path listens." The veins along the ceiling began to dim again, but this time in sequence, one after another, as though something was approaching from above. The chamber trembled. Dust drifted gently from the heights. The creature turned its head toward the ceiling, its shifting face briefly forming a frown. "They heard you," it said quietly. Mark's stomach dropped. "Who heard me?" The creature's eyes, 6 of them now shifted toward him. "Those who wait below, far beneath the stone floor." Mark heard a distant rumble, like thousands of hands dragging across rock. The sound was rhythmic, unified, purposeful. The pool rippled violently as the rumbling intensified. Whatever lived in the depths of this place, it was moving. The creature stepped closer to Mark, its motions suddenly urgent. "You must look," it hissed, "before they arrive." "Look at what?" It raised one long arm and pointed toward the far side of the chamber. Mark turned reluctantly. A wall of stone stretched there, smooth and untouched until now. Lines appeared across the surface, glowing with blue light like the veins overhead. They formed shapes curved, intricate, almost beautiful. But as they sharpened, Mark saw they were not patterns. They were images, scenes etched in light. He stepped closer, compelled. The first image showed a hallway, his hallway exact in every detail. Only the impossible door stood there, wide open, shadows spilling out like smoke. The second image showed him standing before that door, hand raised, eyes wide with fear. The third image showed something behind him, something he had not seen, a shape leaning from the darkness of his own apartment. Mark felt his blood run cold. The fourth image showed him descending the staircase. The fifth image showed the chamber he stood in now. The sixth, he staggered backward. Breath knocked from him. The sixth image showed him opening another door, one he had never seen before, one that glowed white with light so bright it burned at the edges. He whispered, "What is that? I've never opened that, not yet," the creature said. Mark's chest tightened. He stared at the images again, heart pounding as the final picture shifted, distorting like melting wax. The light inside the seventh image grew brighter, expanding outward, swallowing the edges of the chamber. "No, stop," Mark whispered, but the light only grew. Behind him, the creature hissed, a sound filled with both warning and awe. "They come," it said. The rumbling from below intensified into a deafening roar. The entire chamber shook. Cracks split across the stone floor, releasing bursts of cold mist. Mark spun toward the pool just as multiple hands, dozens, surged from the water, clawing at the edge. Shapes rose behind them. Tall, writhing, snarling in voices that did not belong to living things. The creature beside him turned its gaze downward. "You opened the path," it said. "Now the path opens for you." Mark backed away, trembling violently as the pool erupted with dark figures. The glowing images on the wall burned brighter and brighter, until one by one they consumed themselves in white fire. The seventh image pulsed, and the chamber split with light. Mark shielded his eyes as the white light tore through the chamber. It was not the warmth of sunlight or the artificial glow of lamps. This light felt alive, vibrating at a frequency that rattled his teeth and burned behind his eyelids. The chamber walls pulsed violently, the glowing veins stretching like they were being pulled taut from pressure deep within the stone. The creatures rising from the pool screeched as the light struck them, their forms flickering like distorted shadows struggling to hold shape. The creature that had spoken to Mark recoiled, its fluid posture stiffening, its shifting face twisted into something that might have been fear or reverence. "You were not meant to see this yet," it whispered. The seventh image on the wall burst upward, the light spilling across the ceiling like a growing vein of pure white. Mark stumbled backward as the chamber floor split beneath him, fissures running like lightning across the stone. Cold mist surged upward, swirling around his feet, creeping higher, tugging at him like grasping hands. "What is happening?" Mark shouted, though his voice was swallowed by the roaring wind. The creature stepped toward him, its long limbs bending awkwardly as it approached. "The path opens because you are looking," it said, "and they are looking back." The chamber convulsed again. Stone fragments fell from the unseen heights above, crashing against the floor. Streams of black mist rose from the new cracks, mixing with the white light until the air shimmered with opposing forces. Mark's vision blurred. For a moment, he saw nothing but white. Then something else appeared inside the light. A door, not like the others he had seen. This one was carved from smooth stone, glowing with patterns he didn't recognize. It hovered above the chamber floor, suspended in the white radiance like a sacred relic. The creature hissed sharply. "Close your eyes." Mark didn't move. The door pulled at him. He felt it in his bones, in the deepest cracks of his mind. It was familiar, not because he had seen it before, but because some part of him had always known it existed. A memory he had never lived. His legs moved on their own. He stepped toward the suspended door, the light wrapping around him like a warm fog. The ground beneath him crumbled, but he did not fall. The light held him. The creature lunged forward, its elongated arms reaching for him, but the light struck it mid-motion and sent it staggering backward. "Do not open it," it screamed. "That door is not for walking. That door is for ending." Mark stopped inches from the door. The carvings on its surface shifted, forming patterns that twisted into shapes he recognized from the glowing wall earlier, his hallway, the impossible staircase, the pool, and then a new image appeared. Him, not him standing in the chamber, but him standing somewhere else, somewhere he had never been. He pressed his hand against the glowing stone. The chamber exploded with sound. The creatures erupted from the pool fully now, tall figures of twisting shadow and bone, their hands grasping toward him as they shrieked in a language that scraped the edges of sanity. The air tore itself open. The chamber bent inward, stone folding like fabric as the light from the door consumed everything. The creature that had spoken to him fought against the pull of the light, claws digging into the stone. "You must choose," it cried. "Close the door or step through it." Mark felt his mind stretching as though caught between two worlds. The chamber collapsed around him, walls melting into mist, the pool rising upward like a black waterfall, the ceiling collapsing into threads of glowing veins. For a split second, he saw the world beyond the door, a landscape of gray stone and flashing white horizons, a sky that pulsed like a living heartbeat. Towering structures rose in the distance, their forms bending and twisting like the geometry of nightmares. And in the far distance, something massive stirred, something so large it dwarfed mountains, a shape made of light and shadow, coiling through the sky like a living storm. Mark's heart stopped. He knew instantly, instinctively, this was not another room. This was not another part of the path. This was the origin, where all doors began. The white light surged again. Mark felt his limbs weaken. His hand began slipping from the stone surface. The roar of the collapsing chamber shook his bones. Then he heard it, a whisper, not from the creature, not from the rising horrors, from the door itself. "You began this," it said softly, "and only you may end it." Mark clenched his jaw. He forced his hand against the door with everything he had left. The world shattered. He was thrown backward through the air. The light vanished. The cold vanished. The roar vanished. He hit a hard surface and gasped. He was lying on his apartment floor. His apartment. His ceiling, his walls, the familiar hum of the refrigerator returned. The lamp flickered once, then held steady. It was silent, so silent he could hear his own breathing stutter. He scrambled to his feet, heart pounding so hard it hurt. His apartment door stood closed. The hallway beyond was dark and still. He grabbed the doorknob with shaking hands and slowly opened it. The hallway stretched before him in perfect, mundane silence. The walls were beige. The carpet was stained. The faint buzz of the overhead light hummed softly. The impossible door was gone. Everything was normal. Mark let out a shaky breath and leaned his forehead against the door frame. Then a soft click echoed down the hallway. Mark froze. It came from the far end. His blood turned to ice. He slowly lifted his head. The wall at the end of the hallway trembled. A seam appeared, vertical, tall, growing. The wall split open with a slow, grinding sound. A door began to form. Not the gray door he knew, not the glowing stone door. A new door, black, featureless, silent, and as the seam widened, Mark heard it. A voice, not the creature, not the horrors in the pool. His own voice, calling from behind the door. Mark, let me out. Mark stood rooted to the hallway floor. The air around him, thick as cement, as the black door continued to take shape at the far end. His own voice, his unmistakable voice, echoed through the corridor again, low and desperate, as if trapped behind walls miles thick. Mark, let me out. The words slithered along the hallway, vibrating in the walls, sinking into his spine. His mouth went dry. His knees threatened to buckle. He had heard many horrifying sounds since the first night the impossible door appeared, but nothing unnerved him more than hearing his own voice, calling for help in a place where he knew he was standing. He took one slow step back into his apartment, then tightened his grip on the doorframe. The hallway lights flickered, casting the corridor in stuttering pulses of brightness and shadow. The seam in the far wall widened, the black door stretching upward until it was impossibly tall, its edges rippling as if made from liquid darkness. Mark, please, let me out. He pressed a shaking hand against his chest, feeling his heart slam violently. That's not me, he whispered. That's not me. But the voice sounded exactal, not similar, not distorted. Exact, down to the slight tremor he heard in his own speech when he was terrified. He forced himself another step into the hallway. The black door pulsed at his movement, almost as if reacting to his presence. It swelled outward, then contracted subtly, like a living lung, breathing slow and deep. Unlike the gray door or the glowing stone door from the chamber, this one reflected no light. It swallowed everything around it, absorbing the faint glow from the overhead bulb until the far end of the hallway looked like a hole torn out of reality. Mark swallowed hard. "Who are you?" he shouted toward the door. "What do you want?" His voice echoed, bouncing down the corridor and disappearing into the dark. A long silence followed, too long. The flickering lights steadied for a moment, creating an unnatural stillness. Then his voice returned, softer this time. "I want to go home." Mark's skin crawled. He knew deeply that whatever was behind that door was not him. Yet the voice had the subtle breaks, the quiet desperation, the exact cadence he used when begging reality to make sense again. It felt like hearing a recording of a moment he had not yet lived. He forced himself to take another step forward. The temperature dropped sharply, his breath fogged in the air. The door responded again, the darkness rippling like disturbed water. "I'm cold. Mark, open the door, please." His stomach twisted. He remembered the warning from the creature in the chamber. "You opened yourself, and the path listens." Was this door listening to him now, or listening for him? He moved closer, slow, cautious. The hallway felt longer than before, stretching under his feet. The overhead light dimmed, leaving only thin blades of illumination flickering along the carpet. At the halfway point, Mark froze. Something moved behind the black door. A shadow pressed against it from behind, then another. Long fingers traced the inside surface, causing the darkness to ripple outward. Something leaned close to the unseen side of the door. Then his own face appeared in the blackness. It looked exactly like him, but pale, hollow-cheeked, and distorted slightly, like an image viewed through warped glass. His reflection smiled, but his real body did not move. Mark stumbled backward. "No, no, no." His mirrored self spoke again, still using his voice. "You left the door open for me." Mark shook his head violently. "I didn't leave anything open, but the thing inside the door only tilted its head, matching the tilt Mark felt in nightmares, but never in waking life. Let me in." "Mark, I can't leave until you open it." As it spoke, more faces surfaced behind the first. His face repeated again and again, each warped in a different expression. Fear, pain, hunger, fury. Some of them whispered, others screamed silently, mouths twisting unnaturally. He stumbled backward until his shoulder hit his apartment door. The black door pulsed again, this time violently, sending a wave of cold down the hallway. The faces in the darkness pressed forward, merging and separating like drifting smoke. "Let me out. Let me in. Let me out. Let me in." Mark's breath came fast and shallow. He had seen horrors in the stone chambers beneath reality, but this was different. This was personal. This door wasn't reaching from another realm. It was reaching from him. He pressed himself back into his apartment, gripping the doorknob tightly. "Stay away," he whispered. "Stay away from me." But the door did not retreat. It expanded, grew taller, wider, the edges frayed like torn fabric, unraveling into the hallway. The light bulbs overhead popped one by one, plunging the corridor into darkness except for the faint glow of Mark's apartment behind him. Then the voice changed. It sounded like him, but deeper, older, more tired. "Mark, if you don't open the door, it will open itself." His heart seemed to stop. He watched in frozen horror as the black door's surface began to split, a long, thin crack slicing its center. No, no, no! He knew what happened when doors opened on their own. The stone corridor, the twisting staircase, the creatures rising from the pool, the endless paths. He could not let another door open, but he also could not open it himself. He had no choice. And Both choices would destroy him. The crack widened, revealing nothing but infinite blackness beyond it, thicker and deeper than any void he had seen. The air bent inward, pulled toward the opening like the door was inhaling reality. Mark felt his body dragged forward. No, stop. He dug his heels into the carpet, gripping the sides of his doorway. The pull grew stronger, tearing at his arms. His apartment groaned under the strain, the walls vibrating. Behind the black door, his own face leaned into the widening crack, stretching unnaturally as it spoke. "If you don't choose, I will," Mark screamed as the darkness surged forward. Then the hallway shattered with a blinding burst of white light. He was thrown backward again, crashing hard onto his apartment floor. His vision swam, his ears rang. The door's pull vanished instantly. When he looked up, the hallway was empty. The wall at the far end was solid again. No door, no crack, no voice, no version of him staring back. Slowly, painfully, Mark climbed to his feet. He did not trust the silence. He did not trust the wall. He did not trust reality. He stepped into the hallway, inching toward the far wall. He pressed his palm against the plaster. It felt solid. It felt normal. But as he turned back toward his apartment, he saw something that made his blood freeze. His own shadow was facing the wrong direction. It wasn't facing him. It faced the wall where the black door had appeared, and it whispered, "Let me out." Mark stared at the impossible sight. His shadow, stretched long across the carpet, was not aligned with his body. It should have pointed toward the dim overhead bulb, but instead it faced the far wall where the black door had formed only moments ago. The rest of the hallway felt frozen, as if the air itself were holding its breath. His shadow twitched just slightly, like a ripple across dark water, and then whispered again in a voice so faint he barely caught it. "Let me out." Mark staggered backward until his spine hit the apartment door. His breath stuttered. Every instinct screamed at him to run, to hide, to shut his eyes until reality reset itself. But he couldn't. His legs refused to move. His shadow, an extension of himself that should not act independently, shifted again, slowly lifting one arm, though Mark's real arm stayed at his side. Mark squeezed his eyes shut. "This isn't happening," he whispered. "This cannot be happening." When he opened them again, the shadow had turned fully toward him, not the wall, toward him. The silhouette detached ever so slightly from his feet, like a thin layer of ink lifting from paper. Mark gasped, "No, stop, stop!" But shadows do not obey sound. It rose a fraction more, peeling away until it hovered above the carpet by a hair's breadth. It still resembled him, his shoulders, his posture, but its outlines trembled, as if struggling to stay anchored. And then, impossibly, it spoke in his own voice again. "You left the door open." Mark clutched the doorknob behind him. "I closed everything. I swear I did." The shadow tilted its head, a gesture so wrong it made Mark's stomach twist. Shadows don't tilt. Shadows don't think. Shadows don't accuse. "You opened yourself," it replied, and we heard. Mark's breath hitched. The shadow stepped forward. No contact, no weight, no sound. Yet each movement felt like a pressure in the air, bending the edges of the hallway as though space tightened around it. Mark spun and shoved himself back into his apartment, slamming the door, locking both bolts with shaking hands. For a moment, silence. Then something pressed lightly against the other side of the door. Not a knock, a touch, a slow, dragging stroke from top to bottom, like fingers made of darkness tracing the wood. Mark stumbled back. "Go away," he breathed. "Get out of here. Leave me alone." But the touch repeated, slow, deliberate, patient, the same motion over and over, steady as a heartbeat. The lights in the apartment flickered, dimming to a low, oppressive glow. The temperature dropped. Frost spread across the edges of his windows. Mark forced himself toward the kitchen, where the single knife he owned lay beside the sink. His hands trembled violently as he grabbed it. The blade reflected his pallid face. He startled when he saw something else in the reflection. His shadow in the reflection was standing right behind him. But on the floor, where a shadow should be, there was nothing, not a trace. Mark whipped around, knife raised. Nothing, empty space. Then footsteps behind him. He turned again, still nothing. His breathing quickened into short gasps. "This isn't real. This isn't real." But the whisper came again, close enough that he felt it at the base of his skull. "Let me in, Mark." The lights died. Darkness swallowed the room whole. No moonlight, no blinking appliances, nothing but a suffocating void. Mark froze, holding the knife in front of him, though he couldn't see an inch of space. His ears strained for any sound breath, movement, rustle. But the darkness was still, too still. He took one step backward. The floor creaked beneath him. Then a second sound layered atop the creak. Another footstep, matching his exactly. His blood ran cold. He took another step. His own echo followed. But it wasn't an echo. It was behind him, moving in perfect sync. He didn't dare turn around. He squeezed the knife harder. "Stop it," he whispered. "Stop copying me." A faint chuckle echoed behind him. His voice, his cadence. "Do you think I am copying you? Or are you copying me?" Mark spun and swung the knife wildly. A pale flash of metal cut the darkness, but struck only air. He stumbled forward, landing hard against the counter. A dim glow flickered on the far side of the room, not from a bulb, from something rising out of the floor. A pool of shadow liquid darkness began spreading across the tiles. It thickened, swirling as though stirred by an unseen hand. Mark stumbled back, horrified, as a shape rose from the dark surface. It was his silhouette, but taller, thinner, stretched. The shadow's head tilted, angling as though examining him. Its arms lengthened, tapering into points, and its face, though featureless, leaned toward him with unmistakable intent. Mark shoved himself into the living room, stumbling over the couch. His heartbeat pounded like fists against his ribs. The shadow stepped fully from the dark pool, its form rippling as though underwater. Mark's whisper trembled. "What do you want?" Its reply came from all directions at once. "To take your place." Felt the floor tilt beneath him. "Why? I'm nobody." The shadow paused. "Exactly." The word hit him like a physical blow. Then the shadow surged forward. Mark screamed and bolted for the door. His hand slammed into the lock. He yanked it open and flung himself into the hallway. But the hallway had changed. It stretched infinitely in both directions, repeating patterns of doors and lights like a mirrored illusion that swallowed itself. Every bulb flickered with a dull orange glow. The air trembled with a faint hum. Mark spun, gripping the doorframe. His apartment was gone. In its place stood another hallway door, identical to the countless others stretching into eternity. No, no, no. No, where is it? Where's my home? Behind him, the shadow stepped into the hallway. Its limbs scraped the walls, leaving trails of darkness that pulsed like veins. Mark backed away. The hallway bent slightly, as though reacting to the presence of two marks, one real, one claiming his place. The shadow opened its arms. Come home, Mark. There was no home, not anymore. Mark turned and ran. The hallway shifted under his feet, lights blurring, doors warping. He sprinted until he reached a junction, a point where the hallway split into three identical paths. Behind him, the shadow's voice whispered faintly, "You can run, but only I know the way back." Mark stopped. His lungs burned. His vision spun. For a terrible moment, he believed the shadow, believed that only a version of himself could navigate this impossible realm. But then he remembered the chamber, the stone veins, the glowing door, the creature's words. You opened yourself. Maybe he could close himself too. He steadied his breath, closed his eyes, and took a step, not toward any hallway, but inward. As the world twisted around him, Mark did not know if he was stepping forward or sinking. The hallway dissolved as soon as his foot left the ground, melting into darkness that folded inward like fabric drawn into a vortex. His breath caught in his throat. For a moment, he felt weightless, suspended between one heartbeat and the next. Then the world snapped back. He was standing upright, no longer in the infinite hallway, no longer surrounded by flickering lights or the shadow trying to take his place. Instead, he stood in a vast, circular chamber made entirely of smooth white stone. The air shimmered faintly, warm and strangely comforting, as though he had entered the heart of a dream rather than the mouth of a nightmare. But Mark did not trust comfort anymore. He turned slowly, eyes scanning every detail. The floor reflected his movements like polished glass. The walls curved upward into an endless dome that swallowed any sense of where the ceiling should be. Soft lines of golden light pulsed faintly across the stone, moving like veins just underneath a living surface. Mark took a hesitant step. His footsteps made no sound. "Hello," he whispered. His voice carried too far, echoing impossibly long before fading into the air. He swallowed. Every instinct screamed that this place was different from the others, less hostile, yet more dangerous. A whisper drifted through the chamber, not behind him, within him. "You came here." Mark froze. "Who said that?" "You brought yourself here." He clenched his fists. "No, I ran. I was trying to escape. Shadows do not chase. They answer." Mark stiffened. The chamber pulsed with a soft glow. The veins of golden light brightening as though reacting to the conversation. He felt suddenly exposed, as if every thought in his mind were projected onto the walls. "Where am I?" Mark asked. A pause. "The place behind the doors." The answer sent a shiver down his spine. "That means I'm still inside the path. Another pulse of light, not inside it." "You are the path." Mark staggered back. "That's not possible. I'm just a person." Your fear carved the first threshold. Every door after followed the sound. "No," he said sharply. "No, I didn't carve anything. I didn't ask for any of this." Another pulse. "Your shadow asked." Mark's stomach dropped. What does that mean? Before he received an answer, the golden veins dimmed suddenly, almost like a held breath. A low hum spread through the chamber. Then, from the opposite end of the circular floor, a shape formed out of the air itself. At first, it resembled smoke pulled into a silhouette. Then a body, then a person. Mark's chest tightened. It was him, but not. Taller, straighter, sharper in every detail. A version of himself, sculpted from light and shadow. His movements too smooth, his eyes too still, as though this version had never known fear, only purpose. Mark whispered, "What are you?" The double tilted its head. When it spoke, it used Mark's voice, calm, steady, unbroken. "The version you left behind." Mark took a step back. "No, my shadow tried to replace me, that's all." The double stepped forward, its form shimmering. Not shadow, not reflection, something else entirely. When the first door opened, it said, "You split." Mark felt his throat tighten. "Split?" Your fear moved one way, your will moved another. The double raised its hand. The light obeyed the motion, swirling gently around its fingers. "I am your will." Mark's breath faltered. "And the shadow, your fear." Mark's legs weakened. He had faced horrors, creatures, impossible places, but nothing terrified him as acutely as the idea that part of him wanted to consume him while another wanted to control him. "I didn't choose either," he whispered. A soft pulse of golden light washed over the chamber. The double nodded. Not choosing opened the door. Mark squeezed his eyes shut, the truth hitting him like a blow. Every moment of hesitation, every moment of doubt, every moment he froze instead of fighting. The doors had not followed him because he was chosen. They followed him because he never chose anything. When he opened his eyes, his double stood inches away. "You must choose now," it said, "or the shadow will choose for you." Mark's pulse hammered. Choose what? Which part of you will lead? The chamber darkened, the veins dimmed. Only Mark and his double remained illuminated. The warmth in the air faded, replaced by a rising pressure that made his ears ring. The double extended its hand. "If you choose will, the doors will close. And if I don't, then fear becomes you." A ripple of movement shuddered across the chamber floor. Mark turned and saw a dark shape leaking through unseen cracks. Black fog, writhing like oil. A voice drifted through it. "Mark!" The shadow had found him. It rose slowly, its tall shape flickering like a flame, its edges jagged and broken. The chamber's golden veins recoiled from its presence, dimming further. Mark's double stepped forward, blocking the shadow. Will and fear cannot exist in one place. It said, one must consume the other. The shadow spoke, its voice thick with hunger. Let me out. The double spoke, voice steady. Choose. Mark stepped backward, breath shallow. On one side stood the perfect version of himself, control, composed, powerful. On the other, the twisted shadow fear incarnate, begging to escape and replace him. Why do I have to choose? Mark shouted. Why can't I walk away? Why can't I just leave the doors behind? Because they came from you, the double said. They cannot end until you end them. The shadow surged closer. Open yourselves, it whispered. The chamber darkened to near black. Mark trembled. His mind split between terror and clarity. His life before the door's quiet, lonely, directionless, had been defined by hesitation, by avoidance, by refusing to act until the world forced him to. That had opened the first door. Something inside him clicked. He turned to face both versions of himself. I choose, he whispered. The chamber brightened instantly, golden veins flaring like fire. The shadow hissed and recoiled. The double watched without expression. Mark lifted his head. I choose. A violent shudder ripped through the chamber before he finished the sentence. The floor cracked, light exploded upward, and a new door, neither shadow nor light, formed directly beneath his feet, swallowing him whole before he spoke the final word. Mark fell, not through air, not through darkness, but through something that felt like both and neither. The world did not rush past him. Instead, it folded around him in layers, like pages turning in a book written in a language he had never learned. Each layer whispered. Some voices he recognized his own fear, his own hesitation. Others were older, deeper, words spoken before he ever existed. He reached for something, anything, but there was no wind, no gravity, no sense of motion. Then the falling stopped. He didn't hit ground. He simply found himself standing. The new space around him pulsed once, like a heart adjusting to a sudden presence. Mark staggered, nearly losing his balance. The floor beneath him was smooth, black as obsidian, yet faint lines of pale blue light ran through it like cracks. The air was cold, but not the biting cold of the shadowed halls. This cold felt sterile, ancient, the kind that settles into a room that has not been touched for centuries. The chamber, if it was a chamber, had no walls, no ceiling, no horizon, only endless black, pierced occasionally by flashes of shifting light, like distant storms beneath glass. Mark whispered, "Where am I?" A voice answered. Not the shadow, not the perfect double, not even the creature from the pool. This voice was something else entirely, deep, resonant, like stone grinding against stone, layered with echoes that stretched far beyond human comprehension. You stand where choices converge. Mark spun, but there was no figure, no source, only the faint pulsing of the floor beneath his feet. Show yourself, he demanded, though his voice trembled. The air rippled, a shape appeared, At first it was a distortion, like heat haze over pavement. Then it sharpened slowly, painfully, into a tall humanoid form made of shifting angles and lines. Its body was translucent, filled with the same pale blue light that ran through the floor. It had no face, only a smooth surface where features should have been, and its limbs were long, precise, geometric. You asked to leave the doors behind. The entity said, "That is not possible." Mark clenched his fists. "Why not? Why me? Why any of this? Because you opened the first one." "I didn't. I never opened anything." The entity tilted its faceless head, not with hands, with fear. Mark felt his breath stutter. Fear shapes pathways faster than intention, faster than will, faster than shadow. The floor beneath him shifted, patterns forming at his feet, rings of light bending into intricate symbols. The entity stepped closer. You split yourself the moment you listened. One part ran, one part hid, one part lingered, and each formed its own path. Mark shook his head. "This isn't real. I didn't split into anything. That is the lie you have lived within." The symbols beneath his feet brightened, circling him like a spotlight. The creature continued. "What you call the shadow is not a monster. It is everything you refuse to acknowledge, everything you buried, everything you abandoned, and the double," Mark whispered. "The version you wanted to be." Mark swallowed hard. The truth weighed heavily on his chest, crushing. "So I caused all of this. The doors, the creatures, the chambers." The entity's body flickered with blue light. "They were here long before you, but you invited them." Mark staggered backward. "Why? Why would I do that?" "Because you wanted change, but feared it." The words hit him like cold water. "Your life before the door," the entity said, "was a life without direction, without choice, without movement. Fear ruled you as much as longing did. That conflict tore a crack inside you, and the path followed the crack." Mark pressed a hand to his forehead. His pulse thudded in his temples. "No, I didn't want any of this." "But you did." The entity raised one elongated arm. The black void around them shimmered, forming images suspended in the air like floating memories. Mark saw himself, small moments from his life outside, late nights staring at his computer, wishing he were someone else, silences where he should have spoken, doors he never opened in the real world, opportunities avoided, choices abandoned, moments where fear guided him more than desire. Each image vibrated, distorted, split until Mark saw two versions of himself reflected in them. His will, his fear, and the gap between them. He shook violently. "How do I stop this? How do I close the doors?" The entity's body flickered. "To close a door, you must become whole." Mark stared. "I don't understand." "You must choose yourself." Suddenly the floor trembled, violently enough to break his stance. A deep rumbling rose beneath the obsidian ground like an ocean churning under brittle ice. Mark took a step back. "What is that?" The entity did not move. "The doors are waking. Your shadow seeks you. Your will demands you, and the path cannot remain open." The rumbling intensified. A crack tore through the floor, light spilling upward upward in jagged rays. Mark stumbled as the ground split into two directions, one path glowing blue, the other black. The entity pointed. One path will bring you to what you fear. Mark's chest tightened. And the other, to what you are not ready to become. Mark looked at both paths. Neither felt safe. Neither felt right. Which one closes the doors? He whispered. The entity tilted its head again. That is not for me to know, only to witness. Mark closed his eyes. The shadow wanted to replace him. The double wanted to control him. Both were pieces of him, but neither were him. He inhaled sharply and stepped toward neither path. He jumped straight into the crack itself. Light swallowed him whole. The entity whispered one final word before Mark fell out of hearing. At last, Mark did not land. He unfolded. Light tore around him in long vertical bands, bending and twisting as though reality itself was adjusting to his presence. He felt every part of himself stretch across a horizon he could not see, like a shadow cast across infinite directions at once. For a moment, he was weightless, formless, suspended between who he had been and who he might become. Then everything snapped back. He slammed into solid ground, the impact jarring through his bones. He gasped, blinking against a hazy brightness. When the world steadied, he found himself lying on a surface that shimmered like liquid silver, but held firm beneath his palms. The air felt sharp, almost metallic, with currents of cold brushing his skin like unseen fingers. He pulled himself upright and stared. He was no longer in the black chamber, no longer surrounded by void. He stood in a landscape without horizon, an endless expanse of mirrored ground stretching in all directions. Above him, instead of a sky, a swirling canopy of shifting colors, white, blue, gold, black rolled and twisted like storms forming inside liquid glass. The air vibrated faintly with whispers he could almost understand. Behind him, a thin vertical slit hovered in the air, closing slowly, pulsing with light. The crack he had jumped into, as it sealed, he felt a deep pressure release, followed by a distant echo of something ancient groaning. He was sealed in, alone, or so he thought. His reflection stared back at him from the mirrored ground, not the reflection of his current stance, but one of him standing perfectly still, shoulders squared, expression calm. The reflection did not blink when he blinked, did not breathe when he breathed. Then it smiled. Mark stumbled back. No, not another one, not again. The reflection stepped forward out of the ground. As it rose, its form rippled like fabric lifted from water, reforming into a solid figure. It looked exactly like him, but cleaner, sharper, composed. Same face, same eyes, but without fear. Mark whispered, "What do you want now?" The reflection tilted its head. Its voice, when it spoke, came layered one tone identical to Mark's voice, and another deeper, vibrating beneath it. "To finish what you began. I didn't begin anything." The reflection stepped closer. The mirrored ground beneath its feet cracked faintly with each step, splintering into geometric lines. Every door opened because you hesitated. Every path formed because you ran from one thing and toward nothing. You created a fracture in the path. I didn't choose any of this, Mark said, shaking. The reflection raised a hand, pointing at him. "Now you must." Mark felt the air thicken, his lungs tightening as though the atmosphere had turned to syrup. He staggered back, nearly slipping on the mirrored surface. He tried to focus, but whispers rose around him, soft voices bending the air. He spun. Shadows gathered on the ground, not one, dozen, all shaped like him. Each silhouette began rising, forming partial bodies, some taller, some smaller, some twisted, some broken. One limped, one crawled, one stood impossibly straight. Another had no face at all. Another had too many eyes. "No," Mark whispered. "No, no, no." The reflection stepped behind him, its presence cold as ice. "These are the you that could have been, the you that feared, the you that wanted, the you that hid, the you that reached." Mark covered his ears, but the whispers only grew louder. "Let me in, let me out. Go back, go forward. Choose me, be me, become me." The voices clawed at his mind. His own voice multiplied, distorted, layered into endless variations wrapped around him until he screamed, "Stop!" Silence flooded the space. The reflection stepped beside him, hands clasped behind its back. "You must choose which version of you survives." Mark shook violently. "I won't choose that. I won't kill any part of myself. One will kill the rest." The reflection said calmly, "The path cannot hold infinite selves. You created the fracture. You must repair it." "How?" "By stepping into one of them." The shadows tightened around him, converging like predators closing a circle. The mirrored ground pulsed, each heartbeat echoing in his ribs. Mark stared at the different versions of himself, the fearful one, the furious one, the broken one, the hopeful one, the silent one, the violent one. Each stared back with longing, hunger, or desperation. "No," he whispered, "I won't be replaced." "Then choose yourself." The reflection snapped its fingers. The mirrored ground shattered. Mark fell not into darkness, but into a constellation of images, each displaying a different moment from his life. He saw himself failing, succeeding, laughing, isolating, dreaming, collapsing. Thousands of moments spiraling around him like stars. A voice whispered through it all his own. "You are all of them." The images spun faster, blending into streams of light. Mark felt his body dissolve into sensation, into memory, into potential. He reached desperately for something to hold on to, but everything slipped away. Then a new image appeared. Him, but whole, not perfect, not monstrous, simply him, without division. The image reached toward him. Mark reached back. Their hands touched. Light detonated. He felt his fragmented selves recoil, scream, dissolve. He felt the shadows collapse inward. He felt the reflection break like glass. He felt the echoing versions of himself splinter and vanish. When the light faded, Mark lay on the mirrored ground. Gasping, he pushed himself upright. There were no reflections, no shadows, no whispers, just him, only him. The swirling canopy of light above dimmed into a calmer glow. The mirrored ground softened into a shimmering surface that no longer fractured under his feet. A faint hum filled the air, gentle, steady, no longer threatening. Mark exhaled shakily. did it. I chose. A voice drifted toward him from nowhere and everywhere. You have become whole. Mark turned slowly. A door stood behind him. Not black, not gray, not glowing stone. A plain white door, silent and still. His heart pounded. Does this one lead home? He whispered. The voice did not answer. He stepped toward it, placed his hand on the handle, and turned it. Mark turned the handle. The white door opened without resistance. No groan, no pulse of air, no shudder of the world adjusting. It swung inward silently, revealing a soft glow that reminded him of morning light filtered through fog. He blinked, trying to adjust, but the brightness did not sting. It invited, it breathed. He stepped through. For a moment, everything was blank. Not white, not black, simply absence. Like stepping into a memory he hadn't formed yet. Then shapes emerged slowly, as if reality was sketching itself around him. He stood in a long hallway, but this one was not like the others. No impossible seams, no flickering lights, no bending perspective that twisted into infinity. This hallway looked normal. Wallpaper with a faded floral pattern, scuffed wooden baseboards, a dusty light fixture overhead, a faint smell of old carpet, and something vaguely familiar, something he couldn't quite place. He took another step. The floor creaked. He froze. That sound, he knew it. Not from the endless corridors of the path, not from the chambers beneath reality. This was a creak from a place he hadn't visited in years. He whispered, "No. This isn't possible." The hallway stretched ahead, revealing doors on both sides, several slightly ajar. Light leaked through the cracks. He walked toward the nearest door on the right. His heart pounded with a strange combination of fear and nostalgia. He reached for the doorknob, hesitated, and then pushed it open. The room inside took his breath. A bed with a blue comforter, a desk cluttered with old notebooks, a window overlooking a street corner he knew intimately, a poster peeling at the edges, a bookshelf filled with titles he had forgotten he loved. It was his childhood bedroom, untouched, perfectly preserved. Mark stepped inside, almost afraid the room would collapse if he moved too quickly. He brushed his fingers across the desk. The notebooks were the same ones he scribbled in, dreaming of being someone more than himself. The window looked out toward the street where he rode his bike every morning before school. He swallowed. Why am I here? The air behind him shifted. When he turned, he saw movement in the corner of the room. At first, he thought it was his shadow on the wall, but the shape didn't match his stance, his height, or his posture. It was smaller. Then the shape stepped forward, emerging from behind the dresser. It was a child, a boy about 9 years old. Mark's chest tightened painfully. The child was him, a younger Mark, wearing the same worn sneakers, the same faded t-shirt with a cartoon dinosaur, the same haircut he hated then and remembers now with bittersweet embarrassment. But the child's expression was wrong. His face was blank, not emotionless, but empty, like someone had erased every feeling and left a hollow outline. "You're not real," Mark whispered. The boy blinked slowly. His voice, when it came, was small but layered, distant, as though echoing across time. "You left me here." Mark staggered back. "That's not true. I grew up. I moved on." The child tilted his head. "You left me afraid." Mark's pulse quickened. "I didn't abandon you. I just forgot. Forgot fear does not forget you." The words hit him deeply. Memories rushed back, long nights hiding under blankets, scared of the dark but too ashamed to call for help, days pretending to be brave, dreams he never chased because fear whispered he would fail. "I didn't mean to leave you like that," Mark said, voice cracking. "I didn't know how to bring you with me." The boy stepped closer. "You closed the door on me." Mark froze, closed the door. The first door. He remembered it now, not the impossible one, not the glowing ones or the shadow doors. A simple door. A door he shut on his own fear one night as a child, trying to grow up. He shoved his fear into a mental corner, locked it away, and decided he would pretend to be strong. He created the fracture then. He split himself. The boy pointed at him with a shaking finger. "You locked me in the dark, and when the other doors found you, I called for you." Mark felt dizzy. The boy's voice matched the faint whisper he once heard as the first impossible door formed. "Help me!" His childhood self had become the echo that started everything. Mark knelt slowly, tears burning at his eyes. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I didn't know." The boy's blank expression shifted. Something like pain flickered beneath it, then fear, then anger. The room trembled. The posters fluttered. The window rattled violently. Mark stood. "What's happening?" The boy's voice deepened, not older, but heavier, like layers of broken emotion pressed into one. "I am what you abandoned." The floor rippled like water beneath the boy's feet. Shadows leaked upward, wrapping around his legs. His form stretched unnaturally, arms elongating, face warping into something half child, half shadow. "No, stop!" Mark shouted. "You're not the shadow, you're me." The boy's mouth opened in a silent scream, and the room ruptured. The mirrored ground from before cracked through the floorboards. The swirling sky bled through the ceiling. The hallway outside groaned under pressure like the entire house was collapsing inward. The boy lunged. Mark stepped forward instinctively, not to run, but to embrace. He wrapped his arms around the distorted child, holding tight, grounding him, anchoring him. The boy convulsed, but Mark didn't let go. "I'm here," he whispered fiercely. "I'm not leaving you again. I'm not locking you away. I'm not abandoning the scared part of me anymore." The boy screamed again, but this time the sound cracked, breaking into sobs that echoed into Mark's chest. The shadows recoiled. The boy's form flickered. Child, shadow, child, shadow. Then, slowly, the darkness evaporated. A warm light spread outward. Mark looked down. The boy, the real boy, stood in his arms, eyes finally filled with emotion, fear, sadness, longing, human. Mark knelt again so they were eye to eye. "I'm sorry," he said. "I choose you too. I choose all of me." The boy nodded slowly, then dissolved gently into light, absorbed into Mark's chest like a missing heartbeat, returning home. The house stilled, the posters settled, The window stopped rattling. Mark stood alone, whole, but shaking from the weight of the moment. He walked back into the hallway. The white door closed behind him, then vanished. In its place, another door waited, black, silent. This time, Mark did not hear a voice, fear, not will, not shadow, just his own heartbeat. He approached it slowly, placed his hand against the cold surface, and whispered, "This time, I open it because I choose to." Mark's fingertips rested on the cold surface of the black door as a strange calm settled over him. Unlike every door before it, this one did not pulse, did not breathe, did not whisper. It simply existed, silent and inert, as though waiting with infinite patience for him to decide what would happen next. For the first time since this nightmare began, he felt the decision was truly his. No shadows manipulated him. No voices pulled at him. No fractured version of himself demanded he choose. He pushed the door open. It swung inward with no resistance. A darkness lay beyond it. Not the hungry void he had encountered before, not the swirling black flooded with whispers, but a soft, velvety darkness that felt almost warm. It wrapped around him the moment he stepped through, cushioning the air as the door closed behind him with a gentle click. Silence, a deep, profound silence that felt like the pause between heartbeats. Then a glow flickered to life. Mark stood in a vast open space. The ground beneath him was no longer reflective or shifting. Instead, he stood on a floor made of faintly luminous stone gray, smooth, carved with symbols he could not read. Overhead, the sky stretched infinitely, filled with floating shards of light like drifting stars. They moved in slow, lazy orbits, some descending toward the ground before rising again. At the center of the expanse stood a single figure, not a shadow, not a reflection, not an echo of fear or will. A person, a human silhouette with edges illuminated faintly by the surrounding light. Their back was turned to him, posture relaxed, head slightly bowed as though deep in thought. Mark swallowed. "Hello." The figure did not turn immediately. Instead, they lifted a hand, palm facing upward. A shard of floating light drifted downward, landing gently on their palm before dissolving into mist. Only then did the figure turn. Mark stumbled back. He was staring at himself, not the child self, not the shadow self, not the idealized self. This was him, exactly him. No distortions, no alterations, no shadows leaking through his edges, no glow radiating from beneath his skin. Just Mark. But the other Mark's eyes held something different. A steadiness, a clarity, a quiet depth that made the real Mark's breath hitch. "Who are you?" Mark whispered. The other Mark smiled gently. "I am the version of you that never broke." Mark's throat closed. That's not possible. The other Mark approached, footsteps silent, movements fluid. All versions of you existed, but some stayed hidden, some became frightened, some took shape as shadows, some rose as ideals, but I remained whole. Mark shook his head. "If you were whole, Why didn't you come sooner? Why didn't you help me? The other Mark's gaze softened. Because you were not ready to see me. The floating shards of light drifted closer, forming a loose circle around them. The ground beneath their feet pulsed faintly with the same rhythm as Mark's heartbeat. You created the path to escape, the other Mark continued. You created doors to run from fear. You created chambers to contain your fragments. And you created me to show you the end. Mark's hands trembled. So this is the end. Not yet. The other Mark lifted a finger, pointing behind Mark. Turn around. Mark hesitated. But something in the air demanded obedience. He turned. Another door had formed. This one dwarfed every door before it. A towering structure of translucent stone, etched with symbols that glowed like molten gold. The symbols pulsed with an ancient rhythm, steady, slow, heavy like the heartbeat of the world itself. Mark stepped closer, drawn to it unwillingly. The door radiated both warmth and a quiet, crushing gravity, as though the closer he got, the more it weighed on his chest. "What is this?" he whispered. "The first door," the other Mark said behind him. "And the last." Mark swallowed. "The one I opened as a child." "No, the one that opened before you were ever aware of it." Mark's pulse quickened. "I don't understand." The other Mark stepped beside him, gazing at the door with quiet reverence. "This is the door that opened the moment you learned what fear was, long before you knew what to call it. You did not open this door with hesitation or choice. You opened it simply by existing." Mark felt a sick twist in his stomach. "Then how do I close it?" "You don't." Mark's chest tightened. "Then why bring me here?" The other Mark turned to him, eyes shining with something like pride. "To show you that closing the door was never the point." Mark stared at him, breath trembling. "Then what is the point?" "To walk through it." The ground trembled softly. The floating shards of light dimmed. The symbols on the massive door flared with bright gold. Mark stepped back. "I'm not ready." "No one is," the other Mark said with a gentle smile. "But you are whole now, and whole people walk forward." A long silence stretched between them. Then Mark exhaled slowly, steadying himself. He reached toward the enormous handle. The symbols glowed brighter, vibrating with energy that made his bones hum. The world held its breath. Mark looked once more at the other version of himself. "Will I come back?" The other Mark smiled. "That depends on who walks out." Mark nodded faintly. He grasped the handle, and he pulled. The door opened with a blinding surge of golden light that swallowed everything: the ground, the sky, the floating shards, and even the other Mark, until nothing remained but radiance. Mark stepped through, and the door closed behind him. Mark stepped into the golden light, and for an instant he felt weightless, suspended like dust caught in a sunbeam. No pain, no fear, no distortion of time or space. Only warmth, like the gentle pulse of a heartbeat that did not belong to him, but somehow understood him completely. Then the warmth shifted. It deepened, thickened, and became something else entirely. The ground reformed beneath his feet, solid but not stone, smooth but not metal, a surface that felt alive, humming faintly with a rhythm that matched his pulse. When Mark opened his eyes fully, the golden brilliance faded into a soft glow, revealing a place unlike anything he had seen before. He stood on an endless plain of pale light, the surface glowing softly like moonlit sand. Above him stretched a sky of shifting gold and white, rolling like slow-moving clouds infused with fire. There was no sun, yet everything was illuminated. There was no wind, yet the air moved like breath. He took a step. The ground rippled gently, responding to him. "Where am I?" Mark whispered. A voice answered. But this time, it was not another version of himself. It was not a creature from the depths. It was not the entity of light or the echo of shadow. It was a voice so vast, so ancient. It felt like it had existed before sound itself. "Here." Mark spun around, but there was no figure, only empty expanse. "Show yourself," he said, though the words trembled. A ripple spread through the plain, then another. Shapes rose from the glow, tall pillars of shifting light, bending inward until they formed an arch. More pillars followed, creating a structure that looked like a cathedral sculpted from living fire. Then, at the very center, a form emerged. Not humanoid, not monstrous, but something abstract, something shaped from memory, emotion, and thought. It rearranged itself constantly, flickering through shapes, an open door, a child's silhouette, Mark's own shadow, a glowing fracture, a closed eye, a trembling hand. Until finally, it settled into a form that resembled a robed figure made of flowing gold. Mark felt his knees weaken. "Are you the path?" The figure shifted, rippling with patterns like molten glass. "I am what remains when the doors are silent." Mark swallowed. "Why am I here?" "Because you chose to walk forward." The figure drifted closer, its feet never touching the ground. It radiated warmth, yet something about it felt indescribably heavy, like standing near the edge of an infinite truth. "You have walked through fear, through shadow, through will, through memory, but one thing remains undone." Mark's breath hitched. "What?" The figure raised a hand. The horizon split open. Mark gasped as a giant vertical crack formed across the sky, an impossible wound of swirling darkness and blinding white light intertwine. Inside the crack, he saw glimpses of everything he had encountered. The hallways twisting infinitely, the chambers pulsing with veins, the shadow reaching for him, the reflection whispering choices, the child crying in the dark. "What is that?" Mark whispered. "The first door you truly opened." Mark stepped back. "I didn't open that. I didn't know it existed." "You did. It formed the moment you first feared something you could not name. It grew each time you hid from yourself, and every door after was merely an echo." The crack widened. A roaring sound filled the air, wind, water, whispers, worlds colliding in a single endless scream. Mark staggered. "Close it, please." The golden figure watched calmly. "Only one can close it." Mark's hands shook. "Who? You?" He shook his head violently. "I don't know how. I don't know what to do." The figure spoke gently. "To close the first door, you must forgive the one who opened it." I don't understand." A soft motion. The glowing plane beneath him shifted. A shape formed at his feet, a small silhouette. A child, the same child he had embraced before. Mark froze as the child rose from the ground, eyes wide, trembling with fear. But this time, the expression was not hollow. The child looked real, alive, terrified. It was him, not a fragment, not a shadow, not a memory. Him, the boy whispered, barely audible. "I'm sorry." Mark's throat tightened painfully. The golden figure spoke. "The child feared the world. You feared him for being afraid, and so you split. Forgive him." Mark knelt, tears burning his eyes. He reached out a shaking hand and touched the child's cheek. "It's okay," he whispered. "You didn't break me. You didn't cause all this. I was just scared, and it's okay to be scared." The boy sobbed, shoulders shaking. Mark pulled him into a tight embrace. "I forgive you," Mark said. "I forgive me." The golden plane erupted in a wave of brilliance. The sky crack pulsed violently, then began to seal. Light folded inward. Darkness collapsed. The wound closed like a healed scar. Mark held the boy until the last echo of the crack vanished. Then the child dissolved into warm light and flowed into Mark's chest, merging with his heartbeat. The golden figure approached once more. "You are whole." For a moment, Mark felt something he hadn't felt in years. Stillness, silence, peace. But then a new sound rippled through the air. A soft creak. Mark's eyes snapped open. A door was forming behind him, not glowing, not massive, not swirling with symbols. A simple door, wooden, weathered, familiar. He stepped toward it with a strange aching in his chest. He knew this door. It was the front door of his apartment. The golden figure dissolved into light. This time, the voice came from within Mark himself. "Go home." Mark reached for the handle. His hand trembled not with fear, but with something new. Possibility. He pulled the door open. Golden light faded behind him, and Mark stepped into the dark hallway of his apartment building, real, silent, still closing the last door behind him. Mark stepped into the familiar hallway, and for a long moment, he simply stood there, listening to the silence. Real silence, not the suffocating quiet of the chambers, not the whisper-laced stillness of the shadowed halls, just the muted hum of distant appliances, the soft buzz of overhead bulbs, and the faint creak of the old building. He exhaled slowly. The air smelled normal. Dust, paint, laundry detergent from a neighbor's door. It felt absurd that after everything he had endured, this place still existed unchanged. He closed the door behind him gently. No glow, no pulse, no sudden shift of the world. Just wood, hinges, metal latch, reality. But something else filled the hall too, an unseen weight. An echo of what had been sealed behind the golden threshold. The world was right, whole, but he wasn't naive enough to believe the path was entirely gone. He walked forward, his steps soft on the thin carpet. The lights flickered once, but only as old lights do, not as warnings. Mark placed a hand on the wall, grounding himself. It was solid, smooth, ordinary. He whispered to himself, "I'm home." But the silence changed, not violently, not supernaturally, just shifted in tone, a quiet that felt listened to. Mark turned. At the far end of the hallway, the wall was empty. No seam, no darkness, no unnatural door, but a faint outline barely noticeable lingered like the shadow of something that once pressed against the surface. He stepped toward it slowly. When he reached the end of the hall, he touched the wall with trembling fingers. Cold, but not impossibly cold, just cold, normal. He let out a soft breath. "It's over. You're talking to walls now." Mark spun around. A woman stood near the stairwell, a neighbor he barely knew but had passed countless times. Mrs. Grant, early 60s, wore a sweater with knitted flowers and carried a grocery bag. Her expression was puzzled but kind. "I didn't mean to startle you," she said. "You all right?" Mark forced a small smile. "Yeah, just tired. You look like you haven't slept in days." That was an understatement. She shifted her bag. "Well, get some rest, dear. Nightmares look like they're following you." The comment chilled him for a reason she couldn't possibly understand, but her tone held no hidden meaning, just concern. "Thank you," he said. She nodded and disappeared down the stairs. The normalcy of it all struck him harder than any supernatural horror. Life went on. People cooked dinner, bought groceries, slept peacefully in their beds. He wanted that life. He returned to his apartment. The door shut behind him with a gentle click. No vibrations, no whispers, no shadows bending against the floor. He walked through each room, touching objects as if confirming they were real. The couch, his coffee mug, the framed photo he kept on the shelf, the window overlooking the street. Everything seemed unchanged, yet Mark knew he was different. He turned on the lamp beside his couch. A warm glow filled the room. He inhaled deeply and froze. A faint outline lingered on the floor where his shadow should have been. Just a slight blur, a soft distortion, not moving, not separating, just wrong. "No," he whispered. "No, we finished this." He stepped toward the blur, but the moment he blinked, it vanished. He swallowed. Maybe exhaustion was catching up to him. He collapsed onto the couch, head sinking into the cushion. His eyes burned with fatigue. He wanted to sleep for a week, but sleep was dangerous. Sleep was where doors opened. Still, his body begged for rest. He leaned back slowly. That was when he heard it. A knock, soft, 3 taps. He jolted upright. The sound wasn't from his door. It came from inside the apartment, from the wall beside his bedroom. He rose, blood draining from his face. He stared at the wall. It was blank, ordinary. But another knock came, 3 taps, evenly spaced. His throat tightened. "Not again," he whispered. But this knock was different. It wasn't the cold echo of the shadow realm. It wasn't the hollow resonance of a door forming. The sound was wooden, physical. Someone or something was knocking from the other side of the wall. He approached slowly, each step measured. He placed a hand against the wall. It knocked back, 3 taps. He ripped his hand away. The knock came again, this time followed by a voice, muffled, familiar. "Mark!" He staggered backward. The voice wasn't twisted, not layered, not distorted. It was his voice, but younger, a version he hadn't heard in years. Adolescent, broken, fearful. "Mark, let me out." He shook his head violently. No, no. I healed this. I closed you. I forgave you. Another knock. Mark, please, this isn't the same door. Mark backed into the center of the room. You're not real. The voice trembled. I'm not a shadow, not a memory. I'm you, the part you buried after childhood. The part that learned fear again. Stop, Mark said, covering his ears. The knocking grew louder. Mark, Mark, Mark. A crack spread along the wall, a thin vertical line, a seam. His heart dropped. No, I closed all the doors. You closed the first one, the voice whispered, but fear grows back. The seam widened a fraction. Mark stepped forward, fury rising inside him, not at the voice, but at the realization that closure wasn't permanent. Healing wasn't final. He pressed both palms against the wall. Stop! I'm not opening anything. The voice quieted, then whispered, then come in. The wall beneath his hands pulsed. A cold energy seeped through the plaster. Another seam appeared parallel to the first. Mark sobbed with frustration. What do you want from me? The wall shuddered. Nothing. Everything. To be seen. To be accepted. To stop being the thing you fight. Mark fell to his knees. Tears spilled down his cheeks. He slammed his forehead gently against the wall. I can't do this forever. The voice whispered, soft and aching. You don't have to. The seams stopped widening. The knocking faded. The cold softened into warmth. Then silence. True silence. Mark leaned back, gasping for air, trembling violently. The wall was smooth again, whole, solid. He pressed his back against it and slid to the floor. He realized something then. Something terrifying and liberating. Wholeness wasn't a destination. It was a choice he would have to make every day. He wiped his face and stood slowly. The apartment was still. No doors, no echoes, no shadows creeping along the floor. He turned off the light, walked to his bedroom, crawled into bed for the first time in years. He slept and no doors open. Mark woke with sunlight on his face, warm, real, ordinary. For a few seconds, he forgot everything: the doors, the shadows, the fractures in reality. His mind floated in the soft haze between dreaming and waking, a quiet place where nothing hunted him and nothing whispered from the walls. Then memory returned like a slow, heavy tide. He sat up abruptly. His bedroom looked normal. The blanket tangled around his legs, the faint hum of traffic outside, his alarm clock blinking 7:12 a.m., steady and calm. No distortions, no shimmering lights, no unnatural pulses. For the first time in years, he had slept without waking in terror. He let out a shaky breath, rubbing his eyes. It's over, he murmured. It has to be. He stood, stretching. His body ached faintly, like every muscle had spent the night unclenching from a lifetime of tension. He walked to the bathroom, half expecting the mirror to reflect a version of himself he didn't want to see, but it showed only Mark, tired, pale, but whole. He brushed his teeth, washed his face, fixed his hair. Routine felt foreign, like wearing clothes that no longer fit. He had forgotten what it meant to be normal. He walked into the living room and froze. His shadow lay on the floor exactly where it should be, but for a split second, it moved a fraction of a second out of sync with him. He blinked, looked again. It was aligned, perfectly, entirely normal, just nerves. He whispered, forcing himself to breathe. He made coffee. The rich smell filled the apartment, grounding him. He sipped it slowly, savoring the warmth spreading through him. He sat on the couch and stared at the morning light drifting across the floorboards. Everything was quiet, too quiet. A knock sounded at his door. A normal knock. Sharp, real, human. Mark nearly dropped his mug. His pulse jumped. He stood slowly, each step toward the door heavy with dread. But when he opened it, a delivery driver stood there, holding a clipboard. Package for Mark Harris. Mark stared. "Oh, yes." The driver handed him a box, ordinary cardboard. Printed label, nothing threatening. He signed for it, thanked the driver, and closed the door. His heart slowly settled. "This is life," he whispered. "This is normal. This is real." He opened the box. Inside was a book he had ordered months ago. A psychology guide he thought might help him deal with nightmares. The irony hit him hard. He placed the book on the table, laughing quietly at the absurdity of it all. He sat again, sipping coffee, letting normalcy seep into him like medicine. But normalcy had sharp edges. As the sunlight crossed the room, something glinted near the far wall, a faint shimmer, barely visible. Mark stood, walking toward it slowly. As he approached, the shimmer faded. When he reached the wall, nothing remained. He pressed his palm to it. Warm, solid, but something beneath the surface, deep beneath, throbbed very faintly. A memory, maybe a scar on reality. He stepped back. "No," he said softly. "You're gone." He turned away. A whisper followed, not from the wall, not from another version of himself, from inside his own mind. But what if we aren't? Mark closed his eyes. Fear, not supernatural, not a shadow, not a creature clawing for escape, just fear, returning as fear does. He inhaled deeply. "I hear you," he whispered, "but you don't control me anymore." The whisper quieted. He walked to the window, staring at the world outside, people on sidewalks, buses rolling by, dogs barking, life happening with no knowledge of the path he had survived. A strange melancholy settled over him. He wondered if anyone else in this world had ever faced their own doors. He wondered if the path existed only for him or for everyone. He wondered if healing was ever truly finished. A sudden vibration hummed through the floor, so subtle he almost didn't notice it. He knelt, touching the floorboards, listening. Nothing. He stood. His phone buzzed an email notification. He grabbed it, grateful for the distraction. It was from an old friend he hadn't spoken to in years. Subject, "I don't know who else to ask." He frowned and opened the message. "Hey, Mark, something weird has been happening in my apartment the last few nights. Doors shifting, shadows moving wrong. Thought maybe you'd know what it means. Call me." Mark froze. The world seemed to tilt. His hand trembled. He reread the message once, twice, 3 times. "No," he whispered. "This isn't happening. This is just coincidence." But deep down, something in him stirred. Recognition, connection, truth. The path wasn't a place. It was a pattern, a fracture, a fear, one that lived not only in him, but in others. He stared at his reflection in the darkened screen of his phone. His eyes no longer looked afraid, only determined. He grabbed his jacket, his keys, his phone. He stood at his apartment door, He hesitated, not from fear, but from understanding. Healing didn't mean destroying the path. Healing meant learning how to walk it without losing himself. He opened the door, stepped into the hallway, and whispered to the empty air, "I'm coming. You're not doing this alone." The hallway light flickered just once, not as a warning, but as acknowledgement. Mark walked forward, leaving his apartment behind, not toward fear, not toward doors, but toward someone who needed him. And for the first time in his life, he wasn't running, he was answering. Mark moved quickly, but with a clarity he had never felt before. The air outside the apartment building was crisp, touched with the fading cool of early morning. Cars passed. People talked on the street. Life moved in its usual rhythm, oblivious to the fact that somewhere, in the cracks no one else could see, something familiar was stirring again. He walked toward the bus stop first, then stopped himself. No, not fast enough. He called a ride instead and waited, pacing the sidewalk as unease collected at the base of his spine. The message from his old friend Daniel echoed in his mind. They had not spoken in years, not since college. Daniel had always been logical, grounded, the type who dismissed anything he couldn't measure or categorize. For him to write something like that meant only one thing. The path was leaking, not from Mark, from someone else. A car pulled over. Mark got in and gave Daniel's address. The city blurred past the window. Every intersection, every passing shadow felt strangely alert, like the world was watching him move towards something inevitable. He arrived in front of Daniel's building, an older apartment complex with brickwork worn by time. The windows reflected the gray sky, and for a moment, Mark saw no sign of anything wrong. Then he noticed the door, Daniel's apartment door, second floor, near the railing. Its frame was warped, not cracked, not splintered, warped, like something had pressed against it from the inside with relentless, patient force. Mark climbed the stairs slowly, heart thudding. The hallway lights flickered not unnaturally, just old wiring. But every flicker tightened his nerves. He reached the door and raised his hand to knock. It opened before he touched it. Daniel stood there, but this was not the Daniel Mark remembered. His eyes were sunken, ringed with exhaustion. His hands trembled slightly as he gestured Mark inside. "Thank God you came," he said, voice hoarse. Mark stepped in, scanning the apartment, messy but normal. Dishes in the sink, a coffee mug on the counter, a TV paused on a news channel, but the air felt wrong. Thick, pressurized, as though emotion itself had weight. "What's going on?" Mark asked gently. Daniel swallowed hard. "You're going to think I've lost my mind. Try me." Daniel hesitated, then pointed toward his hallway. "It started 3 nights ago. I kept hearing sounds, soft ones at first, like someone pacing in the hall. But when I checked, no one was there." Mark's pulse quickened. Then the bathroom door started opening on its own. Daniel continued. "A little at first, just a crack, then more." Mark looked toward the bathroom. Its door was closed, but the doorknob twitched, a faint rattle, not from the wind, not from pressure. Something inside wanted out. "What did you feel?" Mark asked. Daniel rubbed his arms, like someone was watching me, not in a creepy stalker way, more like like someone needed me to open the door, begging without words. Mark's breath trembled. He had heard this before, inside himself. "Did you open it?" he whispered. Daniel hesitated too long. The silence answered. "I tried," Daniel admitted, "but the moment I touched the handle, my reflection moved on its own." Mark closed his eyes. Another fracture, another self, another door. He steadied his breath. "Daniel, listen to me. Whatever is behind that door, it's not a monster. It's not a ghost. It's something inside you." Daniel blinked. "Inside me?" Mark nodded. "Something you've hidden. Something you've pushed away for too long. Something that's been trying to get your attention." Daniel looked at the bathroom door again, face pale. "Then why does it feel so wrong?" "Because fear is loud," Mark said softly, "even when the truth is quiet." The doorknob rattled again, harder. A sharp, metallic clink echoed through the hallway. Daniel backed up. "I don't want to open it again." "You don't have to," Mark said. "Not alone." He stepped toward the bathroom, placing his hand gently on the door. Instantly, the surface vibrated beneath his palm. A faint pulse traveled up his arm, cold, frantic, desperate. A voice whispered from the other side. Soft, broken. "Daniel." Daniel collapsed to his knees. "That's my voice." Mark nodded. "A part of you, one you abandoned." "I don't remember abandoning anything." "Not remembering doesn't mean it didn't happen," Mark said gently. "Fear doesn't disappear. It waits." The whisper grew louder. "Daniel, please." Mark closed his eyes. Not this again, not another fracture, but he understood something now that he hadn't known when he faced his own doors. You don't close the door. You listen. You answer. He turned to Daniel. "Come here." Daniel shook his head violently. "No, I can't. That's not me. That thing is you," Mark said firmly, kneeling so he was eye level with him. "Not the whole you, not the real you, but the part you hid to survive something. You don't have to open the door. Just acknowledge the fear behind it." Daniel's breath trembled. "What if it's angry?" "It probably is," Mark admitted, "but it's also hurting." Silence. Then Daniel crawled forward, inch by inch, until he sat beside Mark. He placed a trembling hand on the door. The pulse beneath the wood changed. It softened. The voice whispered again, small and shaking. "Daniel, why did you leave me there?" Daniel began to cry silently. Mark placed a hand on his shoulder. "This isn't about fixing anything. It's about letting him know he's not alone." Daniel leaned his forehead against the door. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm so sorry I left you." A sound came from behind the door. Not a scream, not a knock, a sigh. Relief. Then the vibration faded. The door stilled. The air lightened. Daniel pulled his hand back, shaking. "Is it gone?" Mark exhaled. "No, but it's quieter now." Daniel looked at him with confusion. "Will it come back?" "Yes," Mark said honestly, "because fear comes back. But each time, you'll know how to answer it." Daniel nodded slowly. Mark stood, feeling the tension in the air dissolve like dust in sunlight. The bathroom doorknob no longer rattled. The door no longer pulsed. The apartment breathed again. Daniel wiped his eyes. "Thank you," Mark smiled faintly. "One day at a time." He stepped toward the exit, but before he left, he sensed something like a ripple beneath reality. He turned back to the bathroom door. No glow, no distortion, but a single faint phrase pressed gently into his mind. "You are not done. Mark swallowed hard. I know, he whispered. Then he walked out into the light. Mark stepped out of Daniel's building and felt the air change. Not colder, not heavier, just different, as if the world had shifted half a degree while no one else was watching. He paused at the bottom of the steps, inhaling deeply, grounding himself. Cars passed. People walked dogs. A cyclist rolled by humming a tune. Life went on, yet beneath it all, something rippled. Not danger, awareness. He had touched the path again, not by falling into it, not by opening doors, but by helping someone else face their fear. And now the path, in its quiet, impossible way, was watching him. He walked toward the sidewalk, trying to steady his breath. He wasn't afraid, not anymore. But he wasn't naive either. Helping Daniel had shown him something he hadn't expected. The fractures were not isolated. They didn't belong to him alone. The doors appeared where fear lived longest, where pain lived unspoken, where someone had split themselves to survive. He wondered how many doors existed across the world, how many people had versions of themselves trapped behind walls, how many fractured minds were knocking softly, waiting to be heard. His phone buzzed. Mark pulled it out. A new message. Unknown number. The text read, "You helped him. Now help me." Mark's pulse stuttered. He typed back quickly, "Who is this?" A moment passed. Then, "I don't know. Please, I'm scared." Mark froze, not from fear, from recognition. He had written those exact words years ago, not in a text, not to another person, but into a journal entry the night he first felt the presence of something watching him. The night before the first door had appeared in his dreams. Someone else was at the beginning. Someone else was standing where he had once stood. He typed, "Where are you?" 3 dots appeared. Disappeared, reappeared. Then, I don't know how to explain. The walls don't look right. My shadow is moving. Please hurry. An address appeared beneath the text. Mark stared at it. Another apartment complex. Not far, 15 minutes by car. He flagged down a cab. The ride was silent, except for the sound of tires on pavement and the faint hum of the air conditioner. Mark watched the streets roll by, noticing small details, reflections in windows, shadows bending just slightly differently than they should. A street light blinking out at the exact moment they passed under it. The world wasn't breaking, it was waking. He arrived at the building, a tall structure of concrete and steel, newer than Daniel's place, but filled with the same quiet pressure humming beneath its walls. Mark entered through the lobby, passing a security guard who barely glanced up. The elevator chimed softly and carried him to the 8th floor. When he stepped into the hallway, he felt it immediately. A weight in the air, a tension in the carpet, a heaviness in the light, as though something was holding its breath. The door at the end of the hallway bore the apartment number the stranger had sent him, and as Mark approached, he heard it. A faint knock, not frantic, not violent, just steady. 3 taps. He reached the door, knocked back gently. "It's Mark," he said softly. "I'm here." Silence. Then a whisper muffled through the door. "Help me." Mark tried the handle. Unlocked. He pushed the door open slowly. The apartment inside was dim, curtains drawn, light leaking through in long, trembling beams. The air was colder than it should have been, not unnaturally cold. more like someone had stopped turning the heat on days ago. A young woman sat on the couch, knees drawn to her chest, arms wrapped around herself. Her eyes were red from crying. Her hair fell in tangled strands across her face. She looked up when Mark entered. "You're him," she whispered. "You answered." Mark knelt a few feet away, giving her space. "I'm here to help. What's your name?" "Lena," she whispered. "I don't know what's happening. I think I'm going crazy." "You're not," Mark said gently. "Tell me what you've seen." Lena trembled. "It started last night. My shadow wouldn't follow me. It lagged behind me like it was thinking. Then the walls." She pointed to the hallway. "They're wrong. The corners aren't straight. They bend when I'm not looking." Mark nodded slowly. Fear always reshaped the path in subtle ways first. Then she whispered, "And someone is behind the wall." Mark's stomach tightened. "What makes you think that?" Her voice broke. "Because it calls my name." He stood. "Show me." She led him down the hallway. The moment he stepped forward, he felt it, a faint pulse in the wall, like a heartbeat trying to sync with Lena's. She stopped in front of one particular section, the space between her bedroom and the bathroom. The wallpaper was peeling slightly, but beneath it, the wall bowed inward by a fraction of an inch. A soft ripple moved through it like breath beneath skin. Lena clutched his arm. "It only happens when I'm alone. It waits for me." Mark placed his hand gently on the wall. A cold shock ran up his arm. He heard it immediately. "Lena." The voice was young, frightened, a version of her, a part of her, just like Daniel, just like him. Lena gasped and staggered back. "Oh God, you hear it too. I thought I was losing my mind." "You're not," Mark whispered. The voice repeated, trembling, "Lena, don't leave me." Lena pressed both hands over her mouth to keep from sobbing. Mark turned to her. "Lena, this isn't something trying to hurt you. It's a part of you, one you pushed away a long time ago." Lena shook her head violently. "I don't remember anything like that. You don't have to." Fear remembers. The wall pulsed softly. Mark stepped back. "Talk to her," he said gently. Lena's voice cracked. "What if she's angry?" "She probably is," Mark said softly. "But she's still you." Lena trembled, collapsing to her knees. Tears pooled on the floor. Mark knelt beside her. "Just let her know you hear her." Lena pressed her forehead to the wall. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't mean to forget you." The wall exhaled, not literally, but the pressure lightened, the pulse softened. The voice whispered, "I don't want to be alone." Lena sobbed harder. "I'm here now. I'm sorry I left you. I'm here." The pulse faded. The wall smoothed. The wrongness in the hallway eased. Lena collapsed into Mark's arms, shaking. "What is happening to me?" Mark held her gently. "You're healing." She looked up at him with swollen eyes. "Does it stop?" "Yes," Mark said, "but not forever. Fear comes back. But next time, you won't face it alone." Lena wiped her face. "Why you? Why are you helping me?" Mark stood slowly. "Because someone helped me, and now I think this is what I'm meant to do." She nodded weakly. He walked to the door, but as he reached for the handle, a flicker brushed the corner of his vision. He turned. The far wall, smooth seconds ago, now bore a faint symbol, a circle broken by a single crack. Mark's heart tightened. A mark of the path. Something had changed. Not just in Lena, not just in Daniel, in the world. He stared at the symbol, feeling a cold certainty settle beneath his ribs. This wasn't the end. The doors were multiplying. He whispered to himself, "I'm not done yet," and left the apartment. Mark stepped into the street and felt the world tilt slightly beneath his feet. Not physically, not visually, but somewhere deeper, like an unseen foundation shifting in quiet preparation, as if reality itself was adjusting to a new truth. The doors were not isolated incidents. They were connected, spreading, reaching out across the private fractures of human fear. He walked without knowing where he was going, letting instinct lead him. The city hummed around him. Cars moved. People talked. A dog barked. Yet with every passing second, he felt a vibration rising beneath the noise. A resonance he could sense now that he had faced his own darkness. Fear wasn't random. It was patterned, and the path responded to patterns. He stopped at a crosswalk as the light changed. His reflection stared back at him from a shop window. Hold still, but the world behind his reflection shimmered faintly, almost imperceptibly, like a curtain moving behind glass. Mark's pulse quickened. Another door, somewhere close. He followed the sensation, weaving through crowded sidewalks, past restaurants opening for lunch and office workers taking hurried breaks. The hum grew stronger. He felt it beneath his ribs, inside his breath, in the shift of the air. He reached a small public park. Families sat on benches. Teenagers laughed near a fountain. A jogger passed by. Everything looked normal, but the vibration here was stronger. He turned slowly, searching, listening not with his ears, but with the strange internal sense the path had awakened within him. Then he saw it. A boy no older than 12 stood near a row of hedges, staring at the ground. His shoulders trembled, his hands clenched tightly at his sides. His mother sat nearby on a bench, scrolling through her phone, unaware of the boy's distress. A patch of shadow near the hedge rippled. Mark walked toward him carefully. The boy didn't notice until Mark crouched beside him. "Hey," Mark said softly. "Are you okay?" The boy flinched, wiping his face quickly. "I'm fine." He wasn't. Mark had learned to hear the tremor beneath denial. "What's your name?" Mark asked gently. The boy hesitated. "Evan." Mark nodded. "I'm Mark." Evan sniffed. "Why are you talking to me?" "Because you look like you're scared," Mark answered truthfully. Evan's lip quivered, but he shook his head. "I'm not." A lie. A survival instinct. Mark recognized the pattern immediately. Fear buried deep in a child became the strongest kind of fracture. It formed doors faster. It grew louder the longer it was ignored. A faint knock came from the shadow. 3 taps. Evan gasped, stepping back. "You heard it?" "Yes," Mark said calmly. "I hear it. No one else does." Evan whispered fiercely. "I told my mom. She said I'm imagining it." The shadow rippled again. Evan backed up until his shoulders hit the hedge. "It's been following me all week. At school, at home, even when the lights are on." "What does it say?" Mark asked. Evan squeezed his eyes shut. "It says, Evan, come back." Mark felt the air tighten. "Come back, not let me out, not help me, but come back." This wasn't a trapped self crying for release. This was a version calling him backward toward an older fear, a deeper wound, something abandoned too soon or forced away too quickly. "Evan," Mark said softly. "What happened before the knocking started?" Evan shook his head violently. "Nothing," the shadow pulsed. Mark reached out and gently touched Evan's hand. "You don't have to tell me everything. Just tell me if you felt alone." Evan's breath hitched. "Finally," he whispered. "My dad left." Mark's chest tightened. "And I said I didn't care." Evan added, voice cracking, "I said I didn't need him. I said it didn't hurt." Mark knelt lower, bringing his face level with Evan's. "And did it hurt?" Evan's head dropped. "Yeah." The shadow expanded, stretching like a hand reaching toward them, but it didn't feel malevolent. It felt desperate. "Evan," Mark whispered, "that part of you that still misses him, that hurt version of you is trying to come back, not to replace you, not to control you, just to be seen." Evan trembled. "It feels scary because you closed the door on him," Mark said gently, "and now he wants you to open it." Evan looked at the shadow, then at Mark. "Will you stay here?" Evan whispered. "Of course." Evan stepped forward, just one small step. His hands trembled. His breath shook. The shadow reached for him again, but this time slower, gentler. Evan whispered, "I'm sorry you were hurting. I'm sorry I pretended I wasn't." The shadow froze, then softened, its edges blurring, its shape folding inward like smoke caught in a warm breeze. A whisper rose from it, fragile, childlike. "Thank you." Then it dissolved completely. Evan collapsed into Mark's arms, sobbing hard. Mark held him until the shaking slowed. When Evan finally pulled back, his eyes were clearer, his breathing steadier. He looked at the ground where the shadow had been. "Is it gone?" he whispered. "It's quieter," Mark said softly, "and now you're not running from it." Evan nodded weakly. His mother finally noticed them and hurried over. "Evan, are you okay? What happened?" Evan wiped his face. "I just needed a minute." His mom looked confused but relieved. She thanked Mark without understanding what had happened. As they walked away, Evan looked back at Mark, not with fear, not with confusion, but with understanding. Silent, grateful, a flicker tugged at the corner of Mark's vision. He turned. Another symbol had appeared on the paved walkway beneath the hedge. Not a circle this time, a line splitting into two paths, then rejoining. A path broken, a path made whole. Mark exhaled slowly. The path wasn't haunting people. It was revealing people to themselves, and some fractures were beginning earlier than he imagined. He turned away from the symbol and walked toward the street. His phone buzzed. Another message. Unknown number. This time, only 4 words. "It's opening everywhere now." Mark felt the world pause around him. He whispered to the empty air, "Then I guess I'm not done yet." And he kept walking. The story ends here. Thank you for watching and listening to the whole story. Please subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell to listen to the next stories.